It's a people Sunday live, talking about your whammy bar and your overdrive. It's a people Sunday live, talking about your fuzz and your girly buzz. What's up? What's going on out there? I got my new guitar to show you. Got something special to show you. Should we start with that? So, look at this thing. And it's slightly deceptive because it looks black, but then it gets real sparkly. Woo! So this is the charcoal, it's charcoal sparkle, I think it's called. That's the technical name for it, but you might notice it's got a interesting bridge on it. So the story with this guitar, this is a signature model of mine, but we did a one-off with a FU Tone locking bridge. Adam from FU Tone, you know. Basically, it's like a custom bridge that you can go to their site and spec out a bridge with certain parts and things. Some pretty neat options. I got a fairly basic one, but it does have titanium inserts so the little blocks that lock the strings in. Titanium screws back here in the back, and a big brass block. So a great big block on this bridge. It is a really, really good sounding bridge. I will say it's got a depth to it. That's the first thing I noticed, because I actually heard this guitar. There was a little mistake made, and they put a regular Goto on it, and it sounded great, like with the other bridge on it. But I was like, wait a minute, that's not the right bridge. And they were like, oh, yeah, we made an error. Let's switch it. So they switched it to this one. And what I noticed with this FU Tone bridge is a depth. There's a low mid and like just a big weight to the notes. That's the thing that I noticed, having had the benefit of now hearing it with the two bridges. It sounded great both ways, but it was this deep thing that was like, wow, that's interesting, you know, a real like kind of resonance. And it just seems like, and it must be the brass block that's doing that. Anyway, it's got a D tuner on it. Now the bridge only goes down, so it's trim stopped. And it's got a slight recess so that we didn't have to change any of the geometry of the neck or anything like that. You know, otherwise, you know, with Floyd's, usually if you flush mount them, everything's up a little bit, and then you got to either shim the neck or, you know, it's like a whole thing. So, so that we could keep the geometry all the same. There's a little bit of a countersink, and also just so that you can easily use the D tuner to get down to drop D. The little cutout there, so it's really nice. What else is going on with this particular version of this guitar? I put a hot pickup in this one, which is like the antithesis of what I usually do, right? I'm all about the, you know, PAF or hot PAF at max. But this one, there's a few songs that we're doing in the classic rock show set coming up. And I thought to myself, I think I could benefit from a fairly hot pickup on these, like JB kind of hot. So I asked John what I should do. And he recommended, his favorite is the SSH Plus, which is quite a hot pickup. And he's kind of take on a JB. He was trying to do a JB, but without as much honk, a little smoother. And man, does it ever sound good in this guitar. It really does. So it's a fun having a guitar. I do like, contrary to, you know, I like PAFs. I love them. I mean, that's my main thing. And, you know, you paint yourself, I always say, into a corner a little bit with a hot pickup, because it's got a sound when playing clean that you kind of can't get away from. They don't have the, you know, nothing resembling a single coil, that's for sure. And they're a little darker and warmer, or a little more MIDI, or sometimes that kind of thing. But with the push-pull pot on it, I can get, you know, parallel, and that brightens it up a lot and kind of drops the output. So there's that option too. And with distortion, it's really just fun. So anyway, if you got any questions about it, I will answer them. Are we going to do a model like this? That's yet to be decided. This was a one-off for me, just for my for stage use and stuff. I also, you know, I should address why this bridge. I love the Wilkinson bridge on my guitar. You know, I'm a big supporter, and it's awesome. But just the sheer physics of not having a locking nut, you've still got a point there of friction. And if you get really aggressive with the bar, like I actually have to sometimes, I'm finding on some of the stuff I'm doing, you can still, you know, lose a little bit of tuning stability. Mainly I notice it on the wound, like the A or the E. If you get really crazy with it, and those are the strings that kind of have the most break angle over the nut. So there's tension there, and it's just those are still the tough ones. So it's I always said, and I always maintain, it's like 90% of the way to the Floyd sort of stability with the locking tuners and the locking bridge. So I'm taking this on the road, and I'm also going to take my red one with the standard, the Wilkinson bridge. I'll still play that a lot and stuff. But this would be really, really fun for a few songs in the set. Yeah. I love it. I love it. Love it. There's Kenny says, great opening playing. Thanks. That was a little off the cuff. That's my little song that I wrote for my show. I was going to make a video, like an intro, and I just haven't got around to it. But maybe it's better if I do it like that. That's what Justin Hawkins does. I was watching his show yesterday. He just sings his damn song at the beginning of every episode. Maybe that's fine. More creative. What is the availability for your recording and songwriting video? Would have been great to have for Christmas. I think it's out now. I just got word that it's available. So it's at the Guitario. Check that out. Guitario, as it sounds, site. And I haven't had a chance to even go look at it or watch it yet. So I have a login code I can go do that with, because of course I would like to see what they've done, but I haven't seen it or anything yet. So I think it's available, but I haven't had it. I've been so slammed doing stuff, and now Christmas, I did my Christmas shopping yesterday and stuff, but I'm going to go have a look at that later today and stuff. And I will do a post about it and stuff, and post it on my Facebook and all that, and Instagram, just once I go take a look at it and stuff. It's been a long time coming, but they finally finished editing it and stuff. There's Ben posting the futone.com link where you can go build a bridge. Go take a look at some of the bridges that they've done. They're pretty cool. Like you can get like red screws, and this one actually has red springs in the back. You can't see them, but yeah, it's got the red springs. They're pretty cool. This thing plays like a dream too, man. It's like super nice. So Braxall saying, will the new guitar be available to buy? Well, we're talking about it, but it's not a for sure thing. But let me know what you think about that. Actually, let's talk about it right now. Is this something that you would think? Because this one is just custom one-off, but I do think it's really fun, and would be appealing to some people, I think. Right. Ben says, Adam's been a friend of mine for years. Great guy. He was very helpful getting me this bridge. I really appreciate it. And it's a fun guitar, really fun. That thing is incredible looking. Charcoal sparkle is tight. Thanks. Yeah, it's really a cool color, because it looks, yeah, isn't it cool? I love it. I saw it on a guitar on their IG, and I thought, when we were talking about colors for my hum single model, I just saw it on a telly or something, and I was like, that's cool. Like, I thought that's cooler than black. It's just really fun, like it's basically black, but a little bling, but not too bling, just the right amount of bling. Okay, what kind of pickups does it come with? So it's got a SSH. I always get that backwards. I want to say HSS. It's SSH plus in the bridge on this particular guitar, and the two standard singles that I use, which are the V63s. Yeah, they seem to balance quite well too. It's interesting. It's like, it's definitely a hotter pickup than the Thorn 2, which is my main kind of squeeze these days. But it is fun. Good times. Earl says, hey, Ben, what are we drinking tonight? You guys already, I guess you guys are in the East. So, God, last night I went to a little friend's Christmas thing, and he's a bourbon guy, and he wanted to do a little bourbon tasting. He's got all these expensive bottles of bourbon. So he was passing around, you'd have a shot glass, and he was passing around, just like, just have a little bit of this one. And so I was trying to like only a little bit, because some of this stuff is like rocket fuel, man. It's literally like 53%, 109 proof, like these small batch, bourbons that he had. And it was like, I don't actually feel great today. Yeah, I've been better, but I'm doing my best, and I'm drinking the coffee, and we'll see how it goes. Yeah. What else we got here? What are you guys talking about in the chat? Patty says, hello. I like watching you. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you being here. Happy holidays, everybody. Hope you're all doing good. So here's an interesting, Ben says, Adam hooked me up with all the FU goodies for my vintage Kramer. Tone is so much better. Sustain. What did you notice in the tone, Ben? Like when you say better, was it just thicker and fatter and more sustained? Just curious, because that's the main thing I noticed was it kind of this depth to the I haven't heard a lot of people sort of articulate what it is about the block or the bigger blocks or the difference between a brass and a titanium or all these different things, you know. I think I hear a depth that having the benefit of hearing the guitar wasn't back to back the same day or anything, but I heard it and then I heard it again with the new bridge on it, this bridge a week later, and it was like, oh, it's got a depth to it that I think is different than what I remembered last week. You know, it wasn't really a direct A/B, but I guess the thing to do is probably build up two identical guitars and with the standard bridge and the this bridge and take a listen back to back, you know, direct A/B and get them as close as you can weight wise and stuff. PT15 line out. Do I run a stereo delay like the EVH 3000 or H90 from the line out mono to get a stereo field? You can just take the line out of the amp and go right into the, like literally the load box out with speaker sim on and just run right into the EVH or the H90 and take the left and right stereo outputs and go right into your DAW. And then you get your split delays or, you know, whatever H3000 or H90, excuse me, whatever H90 patch, you know, you want to use to split the stereo, micro pitch or whatever stereo delay. Yeah. Yep. Can you lift a whole step on the bar? No, on this guitar, it's blocked. So that's how I'm doing that because I wanted one guitar that I could do detune, you know, so I don't actually have the detuner set right now. I haven't done that yet. You got to get in there with the set screw and fine tune it. I'm used to doing that on my EVH Wolfgang guitar, so I haven't gone and done that yet. But yeah, I wanted one guitar I could do on stage, no problem. Drop the strings to, you know, till they're floppy, you know, get that whole Floyd thing. And then also be able to do drop D instantly with a hot pickup and just kind of like a shred machine, you know, true super strat, won't go out of tune, stays in tune for 3 weeks kind of guitar. Yeah, so it's quite tight right now. I might loosen the springs a little bit because I don't think they need to be quite as tight as they are. I notice if I'm doing I always look at the bar, and then if I'm doing a bend, like a double stop bend, right at the top, if the bar starts diving, that's good tension for me, and I'm finding it's a little more than that right now. So you really got to muscle it to get it down, and it's probably I could loosen it a little, the claw. So got to get in there. There's a couple little adjustments I still need to do to just get it just right. But ever use a tremolo? No. For those that don't know, that's a really interesting thing that you can get that replaces the middle spring in the back, and you can actually lock the bridge. So that it'll only go down, or you can lock it so that it won't work at all, the tremolo, so that it's like a fixed bridge. So you either get floating operation, only down operation, or fixed. Now, it works quite well. I did have it on one guitar. I liked it, but I found it finicky in that those screws in the back that you tighten to do the various, there's these little screws that you do to do the various settings on the bridge, either only down or, you know, like I just described. And I would lose those. They would fall out all the time. And they need to come up with a way on that device where the screws don't back all the way out, you know, where they're locked in somehow. It really was a little frustrating. So I ended up taking it out of that guitar, but it did work. Yeah, it was just a little finicky. That's all. Yeah. Does your Dunlop Hendrix fuzz work equally well as single coil and humbuckers? Well, I would say that for me, any kind of fuzz face is a little better with single coils, just because of the nature of them. They're quite, I don't know, warm and squishy. You know what a fuzz face does? It collapses a lot and it's like really fuzzed out. So it kind of benefits from a lower output pickup and a narrower kind of skinny tone as a balance, but it'll still work with humbuckers. There's not a lot of people I know that, you know, who's famous for doing like a fuzz face with humbuckers. Nobody that I can think of, you know. But there might be people out there that do it, you know. Anybody out there think of somebody that use humbuckers with fuzz face? It's not really like it's never kind of the go-to combo, is it? There's other fuzzes. I mean, a big muff, people seem to like with humbuckers sometimes for alternative rock tones and things. Or big muffs they have a little more, even though they can be pretty warm and squishy too, but they don't have the collapsing thing. They're a little more, they have more attack and hold together a little firmer so it works better with humbuckers, I think. It's just me though, there might be somebody that uses fuzz face with humbuckers. If I play a fuzz face, I'm generally on a single coil. I mean, almost all the time. That's what I'm going for. So, a falsetto is like nails on a chalkboard. I like his intro. Is it a Justin Hawkins rides again? I can't do it right now in the high falsetto. I won't anyway, because you said it'd bother you. But I love Justice Show, so it's really fun. I was watching it with Brittany the other day, and she kind of doesn't get it. She's like, he drives me crazy. Like, kind of just, he's a little ADD, and he's jumping from one thing to the other all the time. It's very fast, but I quite enjoy that. I think it's really fun. Really fun show. And his hilarious takes on things and stuff are pretty good. Travis says, Santa Wildwood slid a PT Signature Inca Silver HSS under the Christmas tree this past Tuesday. That's awesome. Love the neck carve and new pickups. Awesome. Another killer. This is all the money I have left in my name. Hey, I really appreciate you getting the guitar, and I hope it's really fun for you and a valuable addition to your stable of instruments, and that you get a lot of good use out of it over the years to come. So I love them. I think it's super fun guitar. Really stoked on it. Let's see here. I wanted to add an FU bridge to my next. Remember Steven saying it didn't sound good with his guitar. I think he's using them now though. So maybe it was just a combo. Then he had to find he does use them. So it was probably just maybe a particular type of block or something that he had switched out. I mean, I'm fairly certain most of the parts are Godot. I hopefully that's okay to say, but I think that's not a secret, that the base and everything, a lot of the stuff is in the saddles, but you can customize things like the screws and make them titanium, or the inserts titanium, and if you just get a standard one with a regular block, you're pretty close to what you would get if you've got a regular Godot, I would think. It's when the interesting thing is when they build them up and start doing these different screws and inserts and blocks and things to switch it up. So yeah. Root beer. You guys are talking about root beer. I have a modern that's root beer metallic. It's really cool. I love it. Because back then I was like, well, if I'm going to get a shred guitar, that's my guitar with a Godot Floyd on it. It's one of my only other guitars with a Floyd right now. Well, I guess that's not true. I've got multiple guitars with Floyds now, but back then I didn't when I got it, which was 2008. And it's root beer modern. You've seen me play it in some videos. It's funny when I play it, people are always like, oh, you got a new one. It's like, it just hasn't made an appearance for 6 months or so in a video, but it was one of my hot pickup shred machines, with the Godot Floyd and the Doug Aldrich pickups in it. That and my Nags, actually, speaking of Steve, my red Nags, it's got hot bare knuckle Rebel Yells in it. They're quite hot. So, and then this one now, so I got a few guitars with hotter humbuckers at this point. It's fun for a certain thing. It really is. Yeah. Yes, sir says using the PT15IR this morning, doing some recording. That's awesome. Fantastic. Enjoy. I put on my video for the Fender Tone Master Pro this week. Anybody got any questions about that thing? That was a fun adventure making that video. So I got other ones coming. There's a new plugin coming this week that I did a video for that's almost done. I can't tell you what it is yet, of course, because there's an embargo. The good old embargo. There's an embargo. I like that word. Embargo. Kind of sounds like squeegee. Embargo. Rolls off the tongue. Cool t-shirt, says Todd. Thanks. This is my Pulp Fiction shirt I got in. It's got Uma on it. Good old Uma. Old Uma. That's terrible. Good, nice Uma Thurman. Uma, great in all those Tarantino films, Kill Bills especially. Yeah. What else we got here? Super chat. Oh no, that's the same one. Sorry, I got that already. Headed down to the other one I saw here in a second that is about to disappear. How many springs do you use in your Floyds? 2 in my AVH Wolfgangs and Frankie. Yeah, you can get away with 2, especially if you use 9s. 2 or 3. This one's got 3. That could be why it's actually a little stiff, but I think I'm fine with if you only tune in E flat and use 9s, you're fine with 2, I think. So if that's your thing, you have to back the block up further though. So I think generally most of the time I've used 3 over the years. Robert's asking, will it replace the Quad Cortex, the Tone Master? I am a huge Quad Cortex fan. The new Fender device does some things really well, and some people are going to like the, I always say like all these things are like, Axe Effects, Helix, Head Rush, Quad Cortex. Now you got like, it's getting to be a crowded field, and it's literally like saying like BMW, Mercedes, Infiniti, Lexus, like all these kind of high-end rides that are all get you from A to B in style, So the things that I found that the Fender does quite well are the Fender sounds. The Vox sound is sublime. I showed that on my 12 string. It's beautiful. High gains are pretty good with the 2C and the I guess 5150 being kind of the standouts. But I think there's going to be more coming, like software updates and stuff. I hope they put a bass amp update in there. More bass amps and stuff, and some more heads and different things. But I'm a huge Quad Cortex fan, and the main thing I love about the Quad Cortex too, just for me, and some people might not care about this, but I love doing my own captures. So I like putting my amps in there. So something I really dig. So it's a terrific device. The good old Quad Cortex. Ever use Nebo? Yeah, a little bit. Over the years, sure, on sessions and certain things. Nothing comes to mind right now. There's probably some stuff on my records where I did Ebo. I just don't remember. Like sort of in the place of the Ebo, I used the freak out pedal, which can almost get you there, to like those sustaining Ebo kind of sounds. It'll lose the string eventually. Like, it won't, if you get enough volume going, it won't. But the freak out is a easy way to do Ebo style stuff. It's a Digitech pedal that I love that creates feedback, and it gets you a lot of that same kind of quality. And if you use delay and reverb, you can totally make it work. You don't have to hold the thing in your hand, and But the Ebo is a classic device. It's a cool thing. Ever played a guitar with an Evertune? Thinking of getting one of my Epiphone SG. We've been trying to hook up for a long time to make a video on an Evertune bridge, and I think it's finally going to happen. Maybe the end of February. I don't have any more time before I go away in January on tour. I've got too many videos to make before I go already. But in February, I'm going to try it. They are really cool. I would love to have one guitar with that device on it, and it's kind of neat how you can put them into drop tunings and stuff too. And then you kind of got to leave the guitar there once it's in that. But I saw Steve Stevens use one to great effect with his band that he did for a little while called Deadland Ritual with Geezer Butler. He had a guitar tuned in drop C sharp with the Evertune, and it was so in tune, like live. It was so solid in tune. And that's pretty cool on a drop tune guitar, to be able to have that kind of stability and stuff. And it's a different kind of sound almost because it's so stable. Pretty cool. So just watch both the Running with the Dweezil episodes you guys did. Totally blown away by your playing, your tone. Thanks. I haven't seen it yet. That's another thing. So the Dweezil episodes and the blah, 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 my guitar course with Guitario are 2 things that I got to go check out. But yeah, I should put up some links and stuff to them. And I just haven't had time. Like I've been kind of slammed getting ready for Christmas, and then also just over the last few days, and then also finishing some videos and learning songs for tour. And so it's like I just actually haven't had any time to kind of do other things. But I want to go take a look at it. We had an interesting chat. I discovered through him, he's as much of an Eddie geek, if not more than me. And I discovered that I was playing a certain song wrong, like a one note off. And I was like, it drove me crazy when he showed me that. And if you're watching it, he also brings up like the holding the pick like Eddie did thing. If you get a chance to check it out. Because Eddie used to hold the pick not between the thumb and the first finger, but kind of the thumb and the second finger. And he's like do it and play the intro to Ain't Talking About Love with the muting. Well, of course, you're kind of ham-fisted when you're holding it. Like, I'm not used to holding a pick like that. But I did it, and it definitely, I was like, dude, this is one more thing I don't want to think about, because there's already so many angles to the trying to get the Eddie Van Halen thing. And it's like, oh, I spent a lot of time and thought on this, and now here's one more thing. But he's not wrong, man. It's like it puts the pick in a certain position in your picking hand, and you're the palm of your hand for the mute. So you're playing, Ain't Talking About Love. And when you're doing it, there's a certain sound to the mute. And it does have a thing when you hold the pick like him. It's like, so I was learning things the whole time I was there. He's a brilliant guy, Dweezil. He's a really hard worker, and talk about a guy that digs deep when it comes to this stuff. So I really appreciate his having me on, and I also appreciate his he gets just as nerdy as any of us, if not more so. And it's a fun thing. It's like the hobbyist in us all. It's funny because some people are like, why don't you do your own thing, like play your own way or whatever. It's like, not like I don't do that. I always think that's a funny comment. Like on my UA Lion video, there's a couple comments where people are like, it's way cooler, you should play original stuff. And it's like, dude, every video on my YouTube is original stuff. Like, I'm not the guy you can bust for never coming up with anything. You know what I mean? Like, it's like literally like there is hundreds of little songs on there over the years that are, I was seeing that Rabia has put out another, like, volume 4 of his album. I think it's like these little tunes he comes up with for demos and things. He's got 4 volumes. I'm like, I have to do this. Like, I should just be doing this, like putting out the demo songs like he does, and releasing them as it just makes sense. They're all there. It's like, put it in little collections and let people stream them or whatever. But anyways, I'm rambling. Thanks for the super chat there, and I'm glad you liked the episodes with Dweezil. I gotta go listen to them myself and make sure that I didn't say anything stupid. I probably did. All right. I assume they're everywhere where you can listen to podcasts. I'm not 100% sure though. So I haven't seen the new PT Sig guitar available in any online stores. Are you talking about like the HSS standard, my red one and my blue one, and they're available, man. I always post in my my Instagram story. When I see a dealer put one up, they'll take a picture and tag me, and I'll always post it. And there's generally at least a few of those a week where there's dealers with them. But yeah, look at Wildwood. You could ask them if they've got any coming. You could look at Humbucker Music is one I always say. Guitar Sanctuary. Generally speaking, guitar centers in certain platinum rooms have them. I know they got them in Nashville. There's one a couple weeks ago in Nashville, I do believe, at the center there. What else have we got here? Let's see. What can you share about the new Sir amp? Like my amp that we're working on? Basically, just that I want it to be around 50 watts, and it'll be a totally new design as far as the layout goes and everything. Not dissimilar to a PT15, I guess, but still it's unique with the layout and the features. A lot of ways that you can just voice the channels, but without it being complicated. So, and I want to be able to go all the way from, the American clean thing with a very similar clean channel to what's already in the OD. We made a couple tweaks on it. It's really cool. The OD style clean, John's old style clean, the clean in the PT100. It's very close. There's a couple little things. And as far as the drive side goes, it'll be a unique way that you can kind of just voice the channels and stuff like that, and get the main thing, if anybody complains, or not complains, but says, I wish it, PT15 or 100, to be able to get a lower gain drive, a true plexi kind of drive out of it. And so there'll be options for that. So a little bit of shall we say, I don't know, maybe a smoother transition from clean through all the ranges of dirty to real high gain. And so that's kind of what we've looked at doing. So yeah, it'll come along. Soon, I hope. Chris says, I've been playing the new to me 90s Top Hat King Royale. Loud, trying to get a good higher gain sound with a clone and light speed. Doesn't beat amp gain. Thoughts? Well, a King Royale wouldn't be my first choice for high gain. It does a beautiful AC30 thing. If you want high gain, I would hit it with a treble booster, but you're going to need to attenuate. I don't really use the master in the, it's a master on an AC30 is a little bit of blasphemy, in my opinion, but it works in a pinch. But I think that, for me, a range master, the Brian May thing is the high gain, AC30, Nirvana. So find a good a treble booster, good range master style pedal, and maybe try that, I would say. Okay, what else we got here? Can I use the parallelizer to lower EVH delay levels for the signature presets? Yeah, sure. You could do that. Let's see, you're running a head rush into a micro pitch, into an EVH delay, to a Duncan stereo power amp. But if I was you, I would just, the EVH delay presets, it's not a huge secret. There's no mod on them, and there's no filter. It's just a straight up sound of the delay, and then you just need to match the times and the feedback level, which it's just use your ears and make a new preset that's really, really close, and then just go back and forth and check, and then you can change it's easier that way. Just make presets with some lower levels or different levels. I didn't even look at your name. It's Caleb. Hey dude, what's up? Yeah, just kind of use your ears and lock them into the EVH basic parameters, and then the level's quite sensitive on the delay. I find you can bring it up to just the output parameter, which is kind of like a mix, really. You can bring it up to 2 or 3 or 4, and the delay is fairly, literally like out of 100. So 2%, 4%, whatever it is, and it's getting mixed in there, and you're hearing it. So most of the EVH ones are a little louder than that, the actual settings, but but you could use on the fly on the parallelizer. You could just, it's got pots on it, so you could literally reach down and turn I want a little less delay, just turn it down, because it's a mixer. So it's like, that's another way you could just do it on the fly if you want a little more, a little less on the fly. Yeah. Yes. Or, expression pedal is another way to go. You could do that. It's got all kinds of expression pedal options that I don't use and haven't used, actually, but yeah. Where did my embark go? Totally random question here. Anyone know any recordings that use train wrecks? Bryan Adams, It's Only Love. That's supposed to be one. That was the first one that came to my mind. I'm not really sure about others, but there's got to be other Keith Scott stuff, I would think. But yeah, great question. They are some of the coolest amps. I'm pretty far back in the chat, so I'll grab the super chat here and then I'll move down. I built Sun Model T clones. That's interesting. I'm still a small company. Is it important to add extra stuff like certificates, T-shirts, stickers, PIX cables to the finished amp? I don't really think so. Certainly a cable, if there's a foot switch, you want to include a foot switch with a cable, I would say. That's important. Power cable, is something that just seems standard with most amps. But then again, having said this, every little thing you do helps your brand. And, you send a T-shirt to somebody. Oh, that's cool. Free shirt. And then maybe they wear it. And some people are like, what's that amp on that shirt? And so it's extra expense, but maybe it pays off, Picks I always end up kind of like throwing away. They show up and it's like, oh, this isn't even close to what I use. So you don't, they're just kind of extra. And shirts, it's a tough one. Like, what are you going to do? Like, I guess it'd probably be better to just sell shirts on your website or give them away at, if you're ever at little trade shows or things like that, because then people can at least select a size, I guess if you're super small, you could, offer the customer, if you're going to ship them an amp, the option to, hey, do you want a shirt? Are you medium, you're large, give them an option. So yeah. Earl says, how does the Fender Tone Master compare to the Fractal system? I would say it's a easier, less features kind of unit. It doesn't have nearly the depth of, the Fractal is like you can get in and actually change the coupling caps and change, bright caps and like values of things. It's like you can mod the amplifier, and really get in and tweak. Whereas the Fender is a much more the basic kind of, and Helix even has some of those options to get in and change things like the bias and things. There's none of that on the Fender. It's closer to the Quad Cortex in that respect, where it's a simpler, you get the basic amp controls with the EQ basically. So that's probably the main difference, I would say. Fractals, it's a lot deeper now. Whether or not they go that direction over time, they might add some of those features. I think it depends on what kind of guy or girl you are, making your guitar sounds. Most players, I would say, don't even get into that stuff, but some do, and there's some Fractal people that are, pretty deep into the tweaking thing. So, yeah, there's no right or wrong way to do this stuff. How many guitars do you have? I don't really know right now, to be honest. Do I have a favorite? I always say my favorites are my signatures, because if I had one guitar that I, like I could do most everything I need to do on one of these, for the rest of my days. Yeah, where would you rate Crossroads Eugene's Trick Bag on a difficulty scale of 1 to 10? I learned it when I was 16 or so. I'm not saying I could play it up to Ralph Macchio level, no, up to Steve Vai level, but I could play it pretty good. And I think I did it at like some Guitar Wars thing, at least parts of it, the kind of the thing where he's moving from here to here to here to here. That's just like a one. I can't remember, but it's or I think that's like, oh, I guess I do remember it, or something like that, right? So if you sit there and practice that with a metronome, I could get it, with a metronome pretty quick, I think, if I practice. I can't right now, but sit there and do that for about 2 hours, and then you move it up a little bit. And not really that hard, because that's like a repetitive shape that you can just move around. There's other things about it, like some of the alternate picked arpeggios. That's challenging, where you're playing through arpeggios, alternate picking, and it's super classical sounding. It's a great exercise, and I'm a big fan of like trying to tackle things like that and get it, like just go for it and practice it with a metronome. And even if you don't get it quite up to the speed of the piece or his speed, you'll be amazed at how far you can probably take it, and it's a great warm up. Like I should learn it again and use it as a warm up, because I like playing things like that to warm up and before shows and things, because I like things that are picking intensive, left, right hand intensive. So you're warming up both hands, you're syncing your hands together. That's kind of what I feel like. I feel like my hands, when I sit, I don't know about you guys, but when I sit down and first play, I feel like my hands are generally kind of out of sync with one another. And my left is slow and getting them locked. But within about 20 minutes I need to warm up, generally speaking, for gigs. I'm a warmer upper. Some people just hit the stage. I can't. My hands feel terrible when I do that. And I get like little pops and things in my wrist, and I don't like that feeling, like that little shock, and if I just warm up, that does not happen at all. It's like getting the blood flowing and stuff. So a piece like that, Eugene's Trick Bag, is pretty cool for that. So difficulty scale on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say it's probably an 8 or 8.5, but I'm a big fan of tackling things like that and using them, to learn things and work on your technique, and always with the metronome, and it's just good. I from the 80s, so okay. I would like to see a touchscreen digital amp modeling with effects built in the preamp section and tube amp combo and head. It's interesting, like a quad cortex in an amp head with like maybe the screen on the front, so you can kind of an interesting idea, actually. You could almost like make that, just build it in the front of an amp head, put a quad cortex right inside, and just have the they have a tube amp built into like a Marshall style head box, power amp or something. Make your own. You could do it. Let's see here. I'm gonna move down through the chat because I probably missed super chats, but Lauren says you make great background music for working construction. Thanks. Let's see. Did you see Saturani was talking about replicating EVH's 1986 live without a net rig for the tour? That's awesome. I hope he does. That'd be cool. That'd be super cool. Really cool. That's exciting. I'd love to see that. Actually, it's a great sound. Live without a net is a killer. Whether or not harmonizer era and all that, but that sounds perfect for those songs in that era. And it's 1985 or 6 or whatever it was, and it was summertime, and there was chorus, not chorus, but harmonizer. It's great. He was doing the full wet, dry, wet then, I think. Wasn't he? Or was it still just the stereo rig, like the 1984 tour? I can't remember. But there's all those great pictures of everything that's used. It's the SDEs are there, the harmonizers there, Marshall head loaded down. It's basically one sound, with the effects and a few different delay times, and then phaser flanger for the appropriate moments. That's it. Have you seen the new book, Mars Guitars? I would love to read that, actually. Great read for Johnny Marr fans. My friend Henry, who plays keys in Classic Rock Show, just did the orchestra shows with Johnny Marr. So you can see him in the back. He's playing keys. He's right beside Johnny's amps, and so proud of him. He's such a brilliant musician, Henry from Classic Rock Show. He did all the string. He's a full-on string arranger, so he did all the string arrangements for the orchestra. And not only does he play keys, he plays pretty good drums and can arrange an entire string section. And so he's just a super talented young guy. So, but I like Johnny Marr a lot, man. He's so cool. Talk about a guy that's kind of, aging gracefully, great tones, kind of better than ever. Henry says he works really hard, and, he's just always on it. And I admire that. So makes me feel lazy. Here's somebody that replaced the Aldrich bridge pickup in their Sir with a Thornbucker 2. It sounds fantastic. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. I love it too. It's a killer, it's kind of my main humbucker these days. In the red, my red signature model has been my main guitar, I would say, for the last, year and a half or so. And it's in there, and I love it. Rob says, modern with a Floyd and a D tuner. Will the guitar actually stay in tune when I do drop D, or will I need something else to stabilize? No, it'll stay in tune, like totally in tune. Very good, staying in tune is like also down to your technique, and especially when you're in drop D, it's like, if you use 10 gauge strings, especially, it's probably somewhat helpful because it's a little more taut in drop D, a little less pitch fluctuation. I've grown to like the pitch fluctuation. Of course, I had Kim on last week. For those that didn't see it, please go watch the Kim interview last week. Kim Thale of Soundgarden fame, Third Secret. He's was a really, really nice time talking with him. But we talked in his interview about the pitch, the fluctuation and just the fine line of it being a little too out of tune or being a good kind of out of tune, where it's like you get the tension of the bends and the string pulling a little. And I liked that. It was a great chat. I really enjoyed talking with him. I hope you guys liked it too. And if you haven't seen it, please go watch that episode from last week. Let's see. Thanks, Rob, for the super chat. I appreciate that. Chris says turning that top hat up too loud with the light speed is great, but too effing loud. Yeah, get a power station. They're your best friend as far as playing quiet or at home and on gigs, and I use it every day. It's a bit of an investment, but it's something that I use every day. I'm never not running through it in the studio. It's that good. It's very transparent, and it allows you to just any amp at any volume. So it's so important if you're into amps. I know it's one more thing to get, but I couldn't live without it. I don't think so. Yeah, Eddie's Guitars is a recommendation loaded with stock for Sir guitars. If you're looking for a Sir, check with them. Let's take a look at Eddie's and see if they've got anything resembling a Pete Thorn signature guitar in stock. I wonder. Eddie's Guitars. Eddie's Guitars. EddiesGuitars.com. Looks like I've been to this site before. Electric. Sir. Where's the Sir stuff? There it is. Well, that's a nice looking. I like their website. You guys can't see it, but it looks really cool. Oh, there's some interesting. Sir Standard roasted chambered candy orange metallic with dots on the upper side of the neck only. They've got a Pete Thorn signature in garnet red, the original double humbucker version, which is a fantastic guitar. I want everybody to actually take note. If they do go look at this site, please take note. Somebody brought up an important thing. Sure, American guitars are, like, more expensive these days, right? But please notice, if you look at that, it's EddiesGuitars.com. Please notice that my guitar is actually one of the lowest priced of all the Sir guitars listed. Like, it is in the bottom range of all these instruments as far as the price goes, and I'm very proud of that. Somebody actually noticed that on a Gear Page thread about my new guitars. And it's true. I explained in the thread, they said, why are the Pete Thorn guitars a little less money than a lot of other Sirs? I actively try and not do things that add a lot of cost to the guitar. So when I have ideas, sometimes I say to John, well, what if we did this? And he's like, that's going to be expensive. And I'm like, it's kind of a bummer. But I'll find ways to kind of personalize it and make it a nice guitar without pushing it into the, way over $4,000 category or whatever. Because see, you can get expensive pretty quick just on options and paint and parts and different things. So anyway, it is a real concern of mine, and it's something that I always try and think about. So my guitars listed. There's a lot of guitars on here. They're beautiful guitars that are in the $4,500 to $5,500 range. Mine is $3,849, the original version. And I'm proud of that because I think it's a pretty damn nice guitar for that. Okay, I'm looking through the other guitars to see if they have. I'm not seeing one of my HSS models on here. They have a lot of stock though. Wow, they got some. It's a great. Haven't looked at this for a while, and there's a ton of guitars. So really cool stuff on this website. Many. Geez, this must be quite a store. They've got a gold Pete Thorn signature. That's a double humbucker version. So they got a garnet red and a gold there in my signatures right now. Still just looking. I've probably driven all you guys over to this website. I'm going to start losing viewers here. That's not good. Don't go. We're going to talk lots more about all kinds of things. But anyways, let's see here. See what else you guys are talking about. Did you see Big Wreck when they played in LA? I did. Yeah, nothing short of jaw-dropping. They're awesome. It was great to see, and we had a great hang afterwards with a lot of laughs and stuff. It was super fun. He was in a particularly, not that he's not always, but a very jovial mood, and we had a great rap and a lot of laughs. It was awesome. What's my favorite Christmas song on guitar? Probably. It's the only one I know, to be honest. Wasn't that great? I should learn a nice version of, I don't know. I love when I see people play the jazz guitar versions of the Charlie Brown Christmas songs. Those arrangements. God, that record's good. It's one of my favorite records of all time. So good. What gauge pick do you like? Not this one. I've got a very heavy pick here right now. This is a Fender that's got the Clocks and Colors logo, which is this. Clocks and Colors, they make great rock and roll jewelry. And I ended up with a few of these, but it's too thick, although it'd be great for cutting bass. So my favorite gauge pick is, here's the question. My favorite gauge pick is a 73 Ultex, and that's what I've used for years. There's one right there, my name printed on it. Black ones or the yellow ones, I don't really care. I can use either. Although the black ones feel a little different to me than the kind of the pea yellow, other Ultex ones. But anyways, what are you usually plugging into when you have to do a quiet stage? If I had to do a quiet stage, it's generally, for me, it's been the Quad Cortex for the last couple of years. Although I'm still not quiet. I've got all the gigs I've used it on, I've got a power amp up there and some cabinets. So I'm going on a major rant about that lately. Big problem I have lately with no guitar cabinets on stage. I think it's I've been to too many shows recently where there's been not at all any impact coming out of the guitar, and with no cabinets on stage, people using modelers, and it's just coming out of the PA, and the sound people, I don't know what they're thinking a lot of the time. It's like, are you hearing what I'm hearing? Because that guy's playing a solo and I can't actually hear it. The rhythm guitar player's wailing away and I can't hear it. There's no guitar. I can't hear it. Like, and I'd like to think I notice things like that. I'm not like, am I crazy? And it'll just hamper your show. And you're like, I don't get the point, of going out and not having, so every band that I've seen with some amps on stage recently, just Fender combos or whatever, pretty good. So like, yep, that sounds good. Amp up there. I can hear it. Even if it's not loud, it's like, whatever I can, there's a presence to it and a glue that having the real guitar. So this isn't an anti-modeler rant necessarily. I think there's two things: modelers versus tube amps, and then quiet stage versus some cabinets on stage. And I'm a big fan of, even if you're using a modeler, you got to have some guitar speakers up there. It can sound good. I did it two years in a row now on major tours, out on playing sheds with Fight for Fighting, opening for Bare Naked Ladies last summer and stuff. Just a couple 112s up there, man. And I don't think anybody would say that the guitar didn't sound good. I had a great result. Do I still prefer tube amps? I do. The Quad's been a great partner, though, and a great device, and worked really well in the context of that band. Now, I'm not saying there's not a place for it. There's a place for it sometimes. If you're playing in church, or you're playing in a band like that, or you're playing in a casino where it's super low dB, and you're kind of essentially, what your job is then, this isn't a criticism, it's just reality. Your job is to do a sort of reasonable facsimile of songs that are rock songs that we grew up with, or whatever, or country songs, or whatever it is that you're playing in your band. But it's not a rock concert experience, if it's not that, then I get it. If it's like you're playing, or you're accompanying a singer and the guitar isn't really the focus at all, but if you're trying to play like even just regular, pop rhythm guitar, or anything with a little bit of drive to it, or anything that's supposed to have some friggin' impact, and then if you're going to take a solo and I can't hear you, then what is the point? There is no point. And then, I saw a show last week where it was like, there was just none of that impact coming off the guitars. Then at one point, to the point where I was frustrated. And at one point, the bass player / keyboard player took a keyboard solo, which was really loud in the PA, and like over the top loud, like a little too much, but at least, and it played well, and at least it was there and you could really hear it. Well, the crowd went like, yeah, at the end of the solo. Right. And I saw the guitar player, who's a good guitar player and everything, taking solos, and there was absolutely zero response afterwards. No mystery why you couldn't hear it. So I will just maintain that, even if you're with sound person that kind of buries you in the mix or whatever, if you just at least have some guitar on stage happening, they can't take that away from you. So if there's an amp on stage, even if it's a Princeton Reverb or a Deluxe or certainly an AC30, or you're using that on stage, mixed at a level where it's right in around the drums, acoustic drums and and a bass amp. And if you're all playing together, and then I'm just big advocate these days of like, you got to have that, and then like the PA fills in around that. And you know what? If it's not perfect because the guitar amp is beaming a little bit at one part of the audience, and so maybe these 20 people in this part get a little more guitar, I don't care. So be it. Because it's better than not having it at all for the whole show, or having this sort of facsimile of what used to sound like a rock guitar in the PA, and everybody's going, underwhelming, mediocre, regular show, I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of going to shows and leaving all of this up to somebody that mix. I don't know what's up with sound people these days either. I mean, I'm not lumping them all in, but holy shit, there's a lot of bad ones, you know, that just don't seem to get it. You know, didn't grow up with the rock and roll I grew up with, that's for sure. And so, especially if that's what you're trying to replicate, is you want it to sound like rock. It's not convenient, you know. It's going to be loud. It's going to be maybe like beamy at some places on the stage, and you know that's all manageable and stuff. And I'm not an advocate for like getting too stupid loud these days and making people go deaf or any of that stuff. But you know, here's the other thing is that I go to the shows and I've got a pretty good dB meter on my phone. I bought one, like a $10 app that seems to be pretty good. And I can go to a good sounding mixed show where there is guitar coming off the stage and in the PA, and it'll be peaking out at 102 dB. I've been to shows recently where I can't hear any guitar and it's like 110, you know? So, and the vocals are the main, you know, usually people that are mixing like this are mixing the vocals so on top of a band, and then the band is no impact and stuff, and it's still really loud, you know. You're just getting all this vocal, and it's like it's a friggin' problem, man. It's like a real, I'm obviously mad about it, but it just bothers me, man. It just bothers me, you know. I don't like seeing my rock and roll, you know, neutered. It's supposed to be kind of loud, and it's supposed to be kind of raucous. It's like Kim was talking about last week on the show, you know, that chaos of the feedback and stuff. That was what turned everybody on. It's like, that's the good stuff. If you don't like that stuff, you know, then it's like, maybe you shouldn't be in the business, you know, of at least, you know, if you're a sound person, at least mixing that band. Like, don't try and tame it all and take all that away, you know. That's the point, you know. And it's like, it's so much of the point, like the impact and the volume, and it's dangerous and it's kind of loud. You might have ringing ears afterwards, but I'm sorry, that's rock. You know, without that, it's just some sort of like, you know, like watching a 2D movie or something, or like, you know, having sex with a real doll or something. It's not the thing that we grew up with, you know, loving and what turned us on. You know, it's just not. And I like the original thing, man. I mean, you know, can you imagine going to the drag races or something, but they like took all the sound away and made the cars all quiet, and here it'd be better if we like do this and this and this, and because it's safer and not as dangerous and not as, you know what I mean. And if you just sanitize the whole damn thing just because it's a pleasant mix, it's like, dude, it's not supposed to be pleasant, you know. It's supposed to be fun. I don't know who I'm referencing when I say dude, but it's the whole world of like, let's take speakers off stage and make it quieter and all that bullshit. Anyways, I'm just old and grumpy, but I'm gonna be on Dave Friedman's on Tone Talk with Mark and Dave, and we're gonna have a good rant about some of this stuff because Dave feels pretty passionate about it too. He's a hardcore amp guy, obviously. Yeah. All right, that's long enough on that. We'll do more later. Main reason for me to use a fuzz face is for the glassy cleans. Oh, agreed. Yeah, and would only rarely open it up. Would another germanium device like a treble booster be a better choice? I kind of think so. Yeah, it'll do the glassy cleans thing too, and it does the Brian May thing. I mean, where you can roll it down and you get a lot of glass in the tone. That's pretty cool. But a good fuzz face does it really magic too. Your mileage may vary. You got to just try them. Try a fuzz face and try a range master and listen and see if the cleanup thing is more or less to your liking with your particular pickups in your guitar. There's no substitute for experimentation, but yes, it will do it. A good range master cleans up in a similar way. It's just that turned up tone is, to me, like I could play all the time with a humbucker and a range master in front of a Marshall. That's Tony Iommi, you know, or, you know, Laney's, or that's Judas Priest. It's a great hard rock sound with a humbucker. Fuzz face, not as maybe. I mean, it's cool. You know, you can still play a solo or whatever. You're not gonna play all your rhythm parts with a fuzz face on, you know, unless you are rolling down all the time. Yeah, more options with the treble booster for tones with humbuckers, I would say. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Yeah. 409 people here. She's real fine. 409. That was a good one. Remember that song? Didn't Diesel make an amp with a digital screen? Geez, I don't know. Did they? I didn't know that. Is there anybody out there giving online lessons you would recommend? I mean, Paul Gilbert's got his whole Guitar Academy thing. There's so many people, honestly. Look at True Fire stuff. What else? I mean, probably the like Greg Koch True Fire stuff, or you know, Ingbay's got a lesson on there now, I think. I've got a new course, Guitario. Go check out the Pete Thorn course. But maybe you mean like online one-on-one. I think Andy Wood does that stuff sometimes. I think maybe Ben Eller does one-on-one, I think, or at least at times. So you could look into them. How do you get your drum sounds? I generally use a Superior Drummer 3 most of the time, but I also sometimes still use Steven Slate drums. I use this really fun Contact Butch Vig plugin that's really fun for some things. What else do I use? Sometimes I use the Logic drummer, the one that comes in Logic occasionally, but generally it's 90% of the time it's Superior Drummer 3. It's really great. And Easy Drummer is like the easier version of it that's very similar in the workflow and a great place to get started if you haven't. Maybe Superior seems a little overwhelming as far as the kits and the mix capabilities and all the different stuff at first. And Easy Drummer is a great way to get 80% of the way there and get a great result in a much sort of simpler package, simpler mixer and stuff. Yeah. I'm curious about your take on the esoteric, unexpected influences Kim brought up. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Well, you hit the nail on the head, Chris. So with Soundgarden, you had a lot of interesting influence, and they weren't afraid to try things in their music that might be unconventional for rock, There's like a banjo on Ty Cobb or something, it's just like strange sounds. And yeah, for sure. I mean, those individual, I've used Soundgarden as a point of reference many times as a band that was influenced by many people. I mean, you see it with the Beatles too, right? Like with Paul's vaudeville kind of like, I think whatever his parents were listening to when he was growing up around the house. And then Lennon, very different, he was the little more rocker Elvis, obviously, and maybe Dylan and stuff, and then you've got George with the kind of like Eastern, stuff, and all these different influences come together and you get a very interesting sound with their music and their songs and the parts they came up with for those songs. And it's a similar thing with Soundgarden. Now, I wrote an article a few years ago for Premier Guitar detailing like, is rock eating itself? I think I called it. And it was about like kind of like the, without naming names, bands that are out these days that are kind of rock bands that are derivative of rock bands of the past, and I'm glad there's bands out there and they're playing guitars and stuff, and that's a good thing. But it's like if you say, like, for example, and I'm not picking on anybody here in particular, but if you're like, what are your influences? And they go, and if this is like a young rock band, they sound kind of like a Guns N' Roses or something. What are your influences? Well, Guns N' Roses and AC/DC. You know what I mean? It's like you're going to get kind of a watered down version of Guns N' Roses and AC/DC then, like that's it. But if they're like, well, I listen to a lot of, I don't know, Indian classical music growing up because I heard it around the house or something, or I listened to a lot of, vaudeville like Paul McCartney or something. You can get these interesting other sounds and textures coming into your elements of your writing and stuff. And it's going to seem like, oh yeah, well, this is just part of music. This is what I do. But it's great having those diverse influences and then not being afraid to include them. Kind of what I said to Kim last week about how it needed to happen. Part of I wasn't saying like just like, oh, grunge needed to kill hair metal or something, but I guess in a way it's like hair metal. I remember it because I was around in LA like in '90. I was here for it and it was still going on, and it became very formulaic. Was what I was referring to. Like the bands were literally like the ads in the papers for musicians were like, must have this kind of hair and wear a leather jacket. And like, it was like very like no short hairs apply, like stuff like it was like the stupidest things you can think of. We're going to take it all the way to the top. We're going to sound just like Motley Crue and Poison. Well, there's already a Motley Crue and a Poison. So if those are your only influences, then so yeah, 100%. That's what happened in Seattle. You had all these different bands and different influences, and they weren't afraid to, and Kim, like talking about being, I didn't know he was a college radio DJ. It's like, oh, you were in college listening to a whole bunch of different music, just getting new stuff for a couple of years thrown at you every which way, and getting exposed to all this stuff. So, hey, you want to hear a great band? The Viagra Boys. I found that this week. Oh my God, it's punk rock and it's a little like Butthole Surfers-ish, cool songs, and oh my God, the sounds, it's so well recorded and the lyrics are hilarious. So There's a song called Worms that's all about when you die, like the same worms that eat me are going to eat you too. I was like having a hard time driving yesterday listening to this band. It was so funny. And some of the sounds, there's sax, and some of the sax, there's a lot of humor in it. Like it's just amazing. But I love music that makes me laugh. And that I'd love to see these guys live. But check out the Viagra Boys. It's good stuff. Oh, man. Really good sounding, too. Like it's punk rock. That's killer. Have you ever used any Pete Cornish? Just tried them a little bit. Like for instance, he made a double treble booster for Brian May. John Shanks has one. He lent it to me for a while, and it's killer. It's like it's a double Rangemaster style, so you can boost one into the other, and which is pretty great. And it's got more low end than a Rangemaster. Like the way he tuned it has a little bit less of a just upper treble boost, a little bit more thicker mids. So a lot of these treble boosters these days will have like a rotary switch to kind of tune the, like my main, do I have it here? I don't, but my main one of late has been, oh no, it's down there on the floor. Color booster. I think is that what it's called? The color boost, I think, from 65. It's not available anymore, but it's got a 5-position rotary switch, so you can fine tune the amount of low end in the pedal. And I remember my divided by 13 Dynaranger had that too, a 5-position rotary for the lows, and kind of allowed you to thicken it up or make it real tight and skinny. I'm gonna eat these nuts. Oh, delicious. No, I haven't, is the answer to this question, which is my fault. No, something else I need to do. I got to get that going. 20x captures, put them in the store. I got to do it. Sorry. Just chewing here. Apologies. All right. What else are you guys talking about here? Let's see. Andy Wood just did a wet, dry, wet board with EVH products with XTS. That's cool. They sound great. Massive guitar sound. I wonder if wet, dry, wet would work with Leslie in the middle, like a Floyd thing. I guess so. The dry signal being just the Leslie cabinet? Maybe unique. Some people like to play guitar through a Leslie, I think, without it spinning. Anybody know any solos that were done that way? I've heard of that, that some people did stuff that way. But John Suhr would probably know. But I think he used to do that. I think he loved playing through a Leslie cabinet when he was in bands in the 70s and stuff. Just did a show with a guy that had a similar setup, at least for mono stereo, wet, dry, wet. Interesting. Okay, let's see here. Moving down through the chat. I have a power station, too lazy to drag it around, says Chris. Can't help you there, my friend. Rock is inconvenient sometimes. What about the aux box for attenuation? It's a kind of a resistive attenuator. It's not my favorite. It works, but I prefer a load reamp rather than attenuation most of the time. Okay, moving down. Your signature guitar and guitars are way ahead of Fender and Gibson. Price isn't a problem. Thanks. I mean, I think it's a good value, actually. Like, for what you're getting, I would agree with, like, the attention to detail is pretty fantastic. That on a sort of Pete Thorn model in the $38.49 price range. Yeah, it's not inexpensive, but if you compare it to similar custom shop American guitars, Gibson, Fender, even other Suhrs, I think it's a great value. Just price it out. Come back and, price it out and come back and talk to me. Tell me I'm not right. Did you see Knopfler's Pensa Suhr guitars for auction? I did. Yeah, I heard he's doing a auction for charity, and I know that's happening. Yeah. Karen is having surgery for carpal tunnel. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm happy for you too. I'm sure it's a pretty routine surgery. I'm sure it'll go great. Wondering what you would suggest to make playing easier while I build my hand strength back. geez, I don't want to make any, it's like almost like medical advice, but anybody out there had that? Yes, probably a couple of you guys in the chat at least that have had carpal tunnel surgery and can offer more input than me. But lower gauge strings, tuned down. I would probably use a small neck, light strings, and just go easy. Don't damage your, as you're building back slowly. It's a fairly quick recovery, I think. So I would hope that maybe a good I'm sure they'll provide you with this, but obviously a good physical therapist of some sort to give you exercises and things to do, and maybe stretches and things is so imperative, I think, with any kind of surgery like that. So maybe there's some people in the chat that have some options. I have found sports medicine people to be the best for that. They've got all the kind of for your hands and wrists and anything that's, they've great advice about some stretching and ways to, because there might be, things you can do that are more important than actually playing to get your, my friend John does these stretches where he puts his hand against a wall. I'm not saying to do that. It might not be the right thing with carpal tunnel, but, things like that where, this way and this way, and, stretching your hand, kind of using the wall as a flat to push against. And so just get some stuff from a good, physical therapist and some advice. What's something you're interested in that you don't get to talk about a lot? Politics. No. That's something I'm interested in that I don't get to talk about a lot. My main interests are outside of playing music, which we talk about all the time on here, and it's all fair game. But I would say my main interests these days revolve around, I really enjoy working on learning Japanese. And I fall off of it sometimes when I'm not going there. And then for, a few months leading up to it, if I'm going to go again, I get so excited and I start working on it. And that feels really good to me. So I don't talk about that a lot, but I'd love to be bilingual at some point, and that's the language for me, I think. Even though I should really know Spanish living in LA. I mean, I've got no excuse. I should have learned it when I first came here. And there's just, there's a lot of Spanish spoken here. So that would be something I should learn. It makes me feel good working on, there's probably plenty of you that speak 2 or 3 languages watching this right now. And I would so love to do that. I admire you. So that's something but that's outside of music that I don't know if that's what you meant or not. Let's see. Your signature is sold fast. Yeah, they're quite popular, I think, which I love, and people are excited about it. So I'm happy about that. Saw the video with Kim, and now I have a great guild signature. Oh, that's fantastic. So yeah, I was kind of wondering about that, how it translated, because one thing is I wish I'd maybe talked about the guitar more. It was Guild that brought us together. And it was such a fascinating conversation hanging with Kim and talking with him last week. Please go check it out if you haven't. Last week's episode with Kim Thale. But I do wish we'd talked about the guitar and the phase. The phase switch is great. You're right. It's got a phase switch to knock the 2 humbucking pickups out of phase. And it's a really cool sound. And I did mean to ask him what would be a recorded example on a Soundgarden record, maybe, of using the phase switch, because it was obviously an inclusion at his request. So maybe I'll ask him that. I could hit him up and ask him for an example. But it is really neat. It's a fun guitar. It plays really good. Is it harder to do CRS in the winter in the UK? That's Classic Rock Show. I go over there January, February to do. Yeah, it's not bad, to be honest. The weather. It can be quite cold, but to be honest, I have a great coat that I bought before the first tour in 2020. It's kind of a moderate temperature sort of place. I mean, it never gets down below freezing that much. I mean, it might, down below 32 or 0 degrees, whatever, occasionally. But more often than not, we're kind of talking about 40s and 50s as far as the temperature goes. Maybe mid 30s, I got to get my other mouse here because my mouse battery's dead. So I got my backup mouse here with USB cable. So we'll plug in the other one, and then I can then still be functioning here. Just one sec. But yeah, basically it can be a little challenging. It's a little gray and dark, all the time. And there's that aspect to it, like the just the winter blues thing, I guess. But I quite like it. There's something melancholy about it. and kind of, England at that time of year. That's a pretty positive. English people are probably like, wow, you're a real glass half full kind of guy. Because it can be pretty dark, It's surprising though, it's like global warming and stuff, but it's actually surprising how some days can be like, I can literally have my jacket open, just t-shirt, and be walking around. If the sun's out, it's like kind of nice today. It'll be like 48 degrees out or something and not terrible. Not a lot of rain last year either. It's funny. I did all of January, February, and then we had a little break last year, and I flew back end of February, beginning of March, and did another like 2 weeks or something, or 3 weeks. And March was the worst weather. So it was like January, February was better than March was like rainy and cold and like pretty drag, but January, February was fine. So I always get sick. That's one thing that's tough. I'm going to try and avoid that this year, like somehow. I don't know, keep my immunity up somehow, because last year I got a flu really bad while I was over there on tour. And that was the last few shows of the first leg. I was completely whacked out with a fever and just the flu. And I was like delirious on stage almost, like Roger, my tech, was like, man, you don't look so good. But I got through the shows. It's a 3-hour show. I think next year is going to be trimmed back a little bit on the time. I don't think it's going to be so. I think it's getting a little long, sometimes. So let's see. I try and keep it a little closer to 2 hours of music, I think, with a little break. So a little more reasonable. What differences did you notice on the new master and the SL68? It's the only upgrade that is relevant to the way I use my SL67. It's pretty great, the newer version master. It's got a little more mids. It sounds a little less scooped, and the amp it's just a little more like, especially if you're using it real low, it's a little more like the tone of the amp fully cranked. So that's what I noticed about it. It's pretty cool. Might seem to sort of limit the headroom a little bit, which if you're using any kind of distortion, you won't notice. If you're playing clean and you turn the master way down, you might notice that it seems like the amp's a little dirtier. That's something I've noticed with this style master, probably because it's doing something. It's loading the phase inverter or something to some degree, but it's got a great thing to it when the amp is dirty. So it's kind of a cool trade-off, I guess. So, but I do like it more at the end of the day. So it might be something you want to get updated. That's just me. If you're only using the master down to like 7 or 8 or something, just to take the edge off at gigs and stuff, maybe leave it alone. It might not be worth it at that point, because you're not really compromising the tone of the amp or anything like that. It's just when you run it really low, a post phase inverter master can be a little strange. It's still a good sound, but I find it's kind of scooped. Yeah. Yeah. All right. It's 106. This is a great show. We got 402 people online. There's been as many as about 420. This is terrific to have you here. What do we got? Let's see. Hi, Pete, says Bjorn. Traded my Novo for a Gibson Custom Shop and a Chase Bliss Automaton Preamp Mark II. Never bonded with a Novo, and I love the pedal and my first Les Paul. That's awesome. Yeah, the pedal's killer. Big fan of the Chase Bliss. I used it in the Fender video, and I love the sound, actually. So this is a great fuzz. It's a preamp pedal. It's basically a Benson amp in a pedal. So you've got a gain, bass, middle, treble, and volume. And so it's a full-on amp circuit sort of recreated in a pedal, and a great amp-like drive. But then there's these fuzz options that are like really cool. So both germanium and silicon fuzz options. And it's MIDI, so you can store presets and get a bunch of different sounds. You can have a fuzz preset, a couple different boost presets, a real driven amp kind of thing, whatever you want. And you can tie expression pedal to all the faders, so it's fun because like when you move the expression pedal, the faders will go up and down. They're motorized, so it's like kind of crazy. So you can morph multiple parameters with an expression pedal. It ain't cheap, but it's cool. Really great. Like I say, you can hear it in my Fender Tone Master video. I used it as a fuzz, germanium fuzz, for the last solo, the main solo in the song. What do you think of the band geeks backing up John Anderson? Would you play a gig like that? I don't know what you mean, actually. Is he got a young band or something that's doing? Not sure. I mean, I love John Anderson. I think his voice is amazing. So, yeah. Been on a little bit of a yes kick lately, actually. But I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to. Ever used two band pads with something with Captor X speaker sim? Yes, done exactly that. I've used Captor X's. Actually, it was the original. What was it called? A 2-Notes Torpedo Live, which was the precursor. Same load and everything. And I would run a couple of those with IRs to the PA. I did that first time I did it was on the Michel Polnareff tour in France in 2016. So 2 PT100 heads running into the captors. Oh, that's not true. I did it in 2013 initially. Yeah, 2013 with the heads feeding the load boxes. That was totally using the loads, loaded down the amps. But I think I was using Sur reactive loads on that tour. I don't remember. Maybe I was, or maybe I was using the torpedoes. But anyways, I think I was using torpedoes at least to host speaker sim, and then I'd send the IRs to the PA. And that tour, Milan Farmer, was just it was a pop tour, just the heads, no cabs on stage. That was a hardcore rule on that one. In that scenario, we had a great sound guy. It's an arena show, and I am not the main. It's not a rock show; it's a pop show. So fine with the no cabs on stage, even though it wouldn't be my preference, but makes sense in that, there's dancers and it's more like a Madonna style show, Polnareff, the next time I went back to France and toured, he's like a legendary kind of the Elton John of France, they say. A little bit more of a rock gig, still not really a rock artist, but he's a unique artist in his own right, but a little more guitar and solos and stuff. And we did actually do that. Tony McAlpine and I did a guitar duel where we solos, back to back, and then we ended up playing Smoke on the Water at the end. So rock moments in the show, and that was pretty fun and cool. For that, I used the 2-Notes just as IR host to send the speaker sims to the PA. But on stage, I had a rented cabinet, so I was moving this Mare on stage, just a Marshall cabinet that was rented for me, and I ran both heads into either side of the cab, so almost running it like two 212s. Stereo, just for my own, to get feedback and just to hear it on stage and have a little bit of that cab presence. Tony also had a cab. Yeah. So that was load boxes and stuff. And I've done it, in various ways on other things. I've got a video coming for the Captor X, actually, because I've got to make a video for them for the new version. I'll show it right now. And I'll use my signature IRs, my Dyne IRs. So there it is. It's a brown one. They've come up with a version of it in this lovely brown color. So I'll use this, and probably I'll make 6 presets and do 6 different tones on the switch. I guess that'll be a good video. That's coming soon, like this week. Write a little track, knock out some tones, some presets. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. Okay. What else we got here? I'm pretty far back in the chat, aren't I? So let's work on that. Rob with a super chat. John's currently building a newer version of the old ML100. That's cool. Fortunately, my workload for the next 6-8 months is all heavy. Modern 7, like 7-string. That's interesting. That'll be a fun amp. Mike Landau style. Yep. Yeah, I'm super far back in the chat because you guys I see you're talking about my rant. This is interesting. Travis says Wildwood is the first guitar store I ever asked how I wanted my guitar set up. That's nice. Yeah, they do good work there, pretty cool. If you're going to buy a guitar mail order, it's a pretty cool option to have. I mean, I know even guitars, even Sweetwater has you can, ask them to, they'll even do custom stuff. Like, do you know that the Sweetwater actually has you want to get a Floyd installed on a guitar that doesn't have one, they'll do that for you. It's kind of wild, but, setups and stuff like that. I think they have a pretty good inspection process. Maybe just their standard setup is good, but I know you can hit up their techs and stuff to do different things. If you got specific requests, might have to pay a little extra, but when you're getting something sent to you and you're taking it out of the box for the first time or the case or whatever, you want it to be great, right? So Yeah. Okay. What are we talking? You guys are talking about the mix here, the mix issues I was talking about earlier in the show. Yeah. Let's see. What else we got here? Talking about will you ever go back to your 5-minute lessons? I should do more of those. I enjoyed doing that. Yeah. I made a few of these 5-minute lessons, which are just simple concepts. And I would try and make the video be under 5 minutes long. I should make more. Went to Japan for the first time, says Pigeons Will Save the World, for Bandmade tour finale at Yokohama Arena. One of the best rock shows I've ever seen. That's awesome. And Kanami and Miku had loud amps. Also, Tokyo Stole My Heart. Now I get why you love Japan. That's awesome. I can see you've got a little hiragana there in your signature. It's cool. What's that second one? Is I'm trying to read now. It's P. The second one. I can't see the first one because it's cut off. I think that's right. Oh, no, not he. Oh, shit. I don't remember right now. Po, maybe, is the second one. So you guys don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm going to lose viewers here in a minute if I don't move on. Let's move on. Nobody's interested in listening to me practice Japanese. My new Lexurst. I never know how to say this. Lurkst. Alex Lifeson's name. Cheehead and Cab came this Friday. Buying an amp almost feels like an act of rock and roll rebellion. It does, doesn't it? Feels good. Absolutely. I agree. We're going the other way with it, with Classic Rock Show, man. I'm going 2 heads, 2 cabs, and I think James is too this tour, and the full 810 bass rig and the whole 9 yards. We're going the other way. Come see a Classic Rock Show. This somebody's asking about my 12 string here in the chat. It's a Dano. I love this guitar. It's the one I played at the beginning. It's a people Sunday lab. Talking about your whammy bar and your overdrive. It's a people. Yeah. It's a Dan Electro. So it's not even wood. Well, maybe the top is. Yeah, the top is. This isn't. My favorite 12 that I have here, actually. Nice wide neck. Always plays good. Records well. Love the lipstick tube pickups for the 12-string sound. No complaints. Okay. We need a breakthrough in guitar speaker technology so you could have the same frontal size of a 412 cab, but only 1 inch deep, weighing about 5 pounds. Well, it's not convenient, and that wouldn't look cool. Isn't the clean stage pushed by cost reductions and all this loaded effects that you guys can't tell the difference? Cost reductions. Yeah, John, it is. I mean, it's mainly billed as that, like, oh, we don't have space, or we don't have, but it's also many times it's like, oh, it's better because there's no sound and you can just have the PA doing everything, that's how it's billed a lot, as Dave Friedman said, it's billed as it sounds better. And Dave Friedman said nobody ever, like that's actually the case after seeing the show. I don't agree with it with rock and roll. Like I say, there's a time and a place for a quiet stage. If you're playing in a casino, you're playing at church, you're basically background music or like just sort of entertainment off the side. You got to control the volume. Certain types of gigs, if it's not a guitar centric sound, if it's not a rock centric or country, or something where the guitar is really prominent, I get it. Then it's like, whatever, it doesn't really matter, there's a time and a place for that. But if you want a rock experience, if you want the rock, like what a lot of you guys out there watching this show right now grew up going to shows and seeing the same stuff I did, or going to clubs and seeing the bands that, whether it was punk rock or hard rock or even new wave and stuff, you know what I mean? Like there was a guitar in the prominent, and it had an impact and a power. Remember that? That's what I'm talking about. There's no substitute. You can't sanitize it, or it's a totally different experience, and it's not a good one. It's not it ends up being like, well, that doesn't really sound like what I remember, or feel like what I remember. Just kind of would rather go home and watch TV or something. I don't know. Like, it's so far away from the experience that I love, And the biggest one is the no speakers on stage thing to me. That's the biggest part of it. It's not modelers versus tubes. That's a part too. but it's less of a thing, I think, than quiet ass stages where there's still an acoustic drum set banging away up there, but nothing else. You can't have it. Doesn't sound like the rock I'm used to. It just sucks. Sucks. I'm far back in the chat, but Jay says Viagra Boys, great band, worst name ever, but it's punk rock. They don't care. They don't care. I'm like, can you even do that? Like, could you even call your band something like that? Or would you get a legal challenge if you became too popular? I don't know. I don't know if you can use a trademark name like that, but they probably don't give a shit because they're punk rock. Pete, we need a breakthrough. Oh, I already said that one. Sorry. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. I think guitarists don't set their lead tone, volume, and chain to cut through. Well, yeah, you're right. Kick in, overdrive, and volume actually drops. That's a very important point for anybody using fuzz, distortion, or overdrive boxes. You know, to sound like there's a lift when you hit it. I totally agree. I would make the argument that most of the old school players that I grew up listening to and loving didn't have a boost for solos. Their volume control on the guitar, or maybe a fuzz was already layered on top of a dirty sound. You know, I guess, you know, the exception would be somebody like David Gilmour, who played basically clean amps, probably not very loud, and used pedals for his sounds. But you know, if we're talking about Brian May or Eddie Van Halen or Richie Blackmore or Hendrix or any of these types of players, they just had loud ass amps, and then they controlled it with the guitar and they're playing dynamically. So when they were on 10 on the guitar and they were on stun, you know, Jimmy Page too, it was like, you know, volume's up and it's loud, but it's cool. That's part of it. That's what I'm saying is like that sound, there's no getting around the way that they got there. You know, it was the impact was achieved through and the through volume and through, you know, a powerful sound. It was a powerful sound, high power, powerful sound that had the impact of a powerful sound when you know, a guitar player that had control and knew how to deal with that kind of power harnessed it, you know, and it was so cool. And that's it gave us a rush, right? That was the feeling of listening to that was a special thing. And if you try and sanitize it, it just doesn't work. We'll lose all the feeling, you know? So, yeah. Okay. What else we got here? Did you get a new pair of Status CB1s? Those are my headphones. You watched the live stream when you snapped the headband. I've snapped 2 of them with light use. You know what? Mine is sort of like I still have the same pair. It's I have to be careful with them to not put them on too fast or pull it. It's like you can't go beyond a certain point. The little headband on the headphones is like it's okay, but this side is kind of broken somehow, and it'll pop out of this part, you know. But as long as I use the other side as the main point that's stretched out, and then I can just get them on, and I'm just kind of treat them carefully, more carefully than I would like to. But yeah, that is kind of a weak point with them. But boy, do they ever sound good. Status CB1's great sounding headphones, just not the sturdiest. Any old Rockman rack units fans? I love those things. You know, John Mayer, when he was doing his last record, put together a whole rack with that stuff and Roland rack things and stuff. And, you know, his version of the 80s thing was kind of almost like a Clapton style thing. You know, I think using Soldano and stuff. And it was interesting. His take on what 80s was. It was a little different than mine, but it was definitely oh yeah, that style of 80s rig, right? You know, and he got a bunch of the Rockman rack stuff and whatnot. I like I love a Rockman, man. I mean, that sound of Flesh for Fantasy or whatever is, you know, that clean is so cool to me. And even the dirty thing, even the Boston and Hysteria, so like that's great sounds to me. You know, just another color of cool guitar sounds. Yeah. Did you get yourself anything for Christmas? You know what? I've spent a little bit of money this month on camera stuff. I have a new camera here that I'm still learning how to use and trying to get it just dialed in just right. I've started to use it in videos. I used it a little bit in that Fender video last week. It doesn't look perfect yet. Like I'm still wrestling with the focus on it a bit. jury's out. I'm still not. I'm not like totally blown away with it actually for the amount of money that it was. It's a Canon EOS R8 body, and I bought a kit, so it's got the kit lens, and probably need a better lens, I think maybe, and then I also put a little bit of money into some more lighting for the back of the room and stuff to make it look a little more fun. So I've spent enough on that, and that's my Christmas present, a little bit of work stuff. Yeah. Plus, just coming off a trip to Japan too. That was a vacation, so paying off all that. It was a gift to Britt, really, for her birthday, but for me too, I guess. I love going there. So, all right. What else we got here? Let's see. What else? This is interesting. My friend, my luthier Larry Fitzgerald, worked on the Knopfler Pensisseurs at Rudy's in the 90s. He interned under John Suhr and took over for him at Rudy's when John left for California. Interesting. Yeah, John left to go do custom audio. Wow, we got 430 online. This is fantastic. Everybody, please hit the like with a thumbs up while you're here. Don't forget, if you're enjoying the stream. Is there a big sound difference if you use the Torpedo Live via computer? Like, so in other words, you mean like hosting the IRs in the computer? No, I mean, it'll be the same basically. The only thing about the original, if you're talking about Torpedo Live, the original unit had a maximum of 22 millisecond IRs, I think. So the only thing would be, that's just fine for close mic sounds. If you tried to do room mic stuff, you won't be able to do that. But it's not really a thing on Two Notes anyway. It's all close mic stuff, and then you kind of use the reverbs and stuff within their plugins. So no, it'll basically not really. You probably won't notice much of a sound difference if you're hosting I think you mean wall of sound, like Torpedo with the IRs hosted, their Dyne IRs or whatever, or wall of sound, their plugin within the computer with the IRs in there. Yeah, it's the same stuff. Okay, what else we got here? Let's see. There's a super duper chat from Terry. Big fan of your work. Do you have any method for dialing in lows, mids, and highs on your amps? I always put the EQ at about 5, and then I just tweak from there a little bit, especially if it's not a if it's a Marshall. It's a little. If it's an old Marshall, like a 4-hole Marshall, then the EQ makes less difference. You'll find than on a newer with the gain in front kind of Marshall, where the EQ seems more pronounced. So on one of those, I would start with everything at 5. But even on a Plexi, you can kind of put it at 5. On a Plexi, though, so much of the gain is in the EQ. Like the EQ on an old Marshall is lossy. So if you're turning down the mids, you're going to notice actually a reduction in gain, a little bit less drive. So I tend to turn the mids way up on most of my 4-hole Marshalls, on 8, if not 10. And kind of the same thing across the board with the EQ, that the mids is kind of the biggest deal, but the treble also. If the amp is a little sharp or hard, or the speakers or whatever, the pickups you're using are a little bright or whatever, I might run the treble below half, maybe on 4 or something, but generally it's up more like 6. Presence, I like it up there. Usually anywhere from, sometimes I run it lower, like on 4, or if I'm using single coils or just want to chill it out a little bit, the amp in the super highs. But a lot of times it's up. And then, there's kind of like, sometimes I was like, oh, screw it, and everything's on 10, like Eddie Van Halen. And then it just sounds like, well, that's kind of amazing sounding. It's like one of the best sounds those amps make. So kind of wild. On a modern gain amp, though, like something like the PT15, the PT100, we made it so that you can put everything on 5 and it sounds great. And then just kind of between 4 and 6 on all the dials is kind of where you'll find your sound, probably some variation of that. Shouldn't need to do extreme settings too much on something like a PT. Yeah. Which of your Suhr signatures have you been playing more lately, the HH or HSS? The HSS I have, but I still love the, I've been lately picking up my red HH, and I play things on it sometimes. Like, this is a great guitar. It's got a great sound, and it's got its own thing going on. So, yeah. Hobo Roadie's talking about, somebody was asking me about touring in the UK in the cold months. English don't actually do cold like Siberia and America. True. The only place where it can get pretty damn cold is up Scotland. You know, it's pretty icy up there in January, February. But I haven't experienced any nothing like Canada cold or whatever in England. You know, it's a different kind of cold. And, you know, when it's rainy and windy, it just, then it kind of doesn't matter if it's like only, you know, 45 or whatever, it still sucks, you know? So it's a different kind of thing. The cold isn't really the problem. It's more like the gray and the short days and that kind of stuff it's a whatever, for whatever reason, the, you know, Gulf Stream or who knows what, it's a relatively moderate climate in the UK and compared to, like you say, Siberia or Canada or something. Yeah. Okay. Miko says, first time I catch one of these things live, including Phil McKnight, Ola, Tone Talk, etc. Just want to drop a line and say thanks for your videos and that the Kim Thale interview was awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I had such a good time talking with Kim. Wow, we got a lot of people here this week. It's great. 456. That's terrific. I'm, by the way, just while I got you here, I'm debating what to do next week. It's Christmas Eve. Probably not going to do a stream next week. It's Christmas Eve. You should be with your families and not hanging with me. And then the following week is New Year's Eve. Not sure what's happening that day either. So I guess it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if I took 2 weeks and, you know, look, you know, I saw Justin Hawkins did that on his show, or, you know, Justin Hawkins Rides Again, not filming episodes for a couple weeks. That's something I noticed that he was doing. And then the following week I would be in, I think I'll be in the UK. So that would be my first week streaming from over there. It'll be like a rehearsal day, but I'd figure out a way to do a stream later in the kind of, I think I've done that before where it's like at the usual time in England. That's what I do over there, 8 p.m. or something. I've had dinner and done, maybe I'll do that. My favorite Thai restaurant and have a live stream from there in a couple of weeks. But anyways, yeah, I might after today, the next one will be number 300 as well. But yeah, I might take 2 weeks off. It's kind of not the smartest thing to do to keep. I know the consistency is important, but it's also Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. So it's like, you know, I don't know. It really did. The New Year's Eve one depends on where I am on New Year's Eve. It's just a little up in the air whether I'll be in a car driving to Las Vegas or not that day. I'm just not sure yet. So we'll see. If I'm in town, I'll probably do it. Next week, though, we can assume we'll be off Christmas Eve. Okay, enough about that. Let's continue talking guitar stuff for a couple minutes here. We've got at least another 20, 25 minutes to go here. Let's see. That pedal show used the Automaton a lot. Do they? They've got the Chase Bliss preamp pedal. It's a really good pedal, no doubt about it. I love it. Those Chase Bliss guys are smart. Fantastic interview with Kim, says Brian Hester there with a super chat. Thank you. I was not surprised, but he gave you many kudos. That was really nice of him. It's something that I hear now from guys like him and occasionally, you know, people that knew Chris, and they'll be like, you know, he spoke really highly of you whenever we talked, and you came up a lot, and that makes me feel, it warms my heart, you know, because I miss my friend every day. But yeah, it's a nice thing to hear. You know, he was such a sweet guy, man, you know, Chris. So miss him. Damn it. All right, let's talk about something else. Thank you for the super chat though, man. Appreciate that. And I'm glad you enjoyed the interview. I really did too. It was great to connect with him. Pigeons Will Save the World once again says, I think the master on the old SL68 sounds really good, even down to around 4. Would love to do the up. Well, I'll tell you what the difference is. If you want to update your amp, I heard it in the mids. I did some volume matched comparisons where I had my SL68 with the original master, right? And I recorded it full volume, master down to 7, master down to 4, like whatever, like just a couple different clips like that. Then I took the amp out to Sir, had him put the new master in. I came back and I did the exact same thing where I turned it down, you know, full on, turn it down, a couple different levels. And what I heard was fairly obvious that the tone was closer with the newer master to the fully cranked version, because I volume matched them, right? So that now I'm listening to 3 clips, all the exact same volume, but I just bumped up the other ones to, so that I could direct AB, and it did sound more like the amp on 10 or whatever, fully wide open, no master engaged, with the new master. So it was just a little more mids and a little richer, a little less scooped. That was what I noticed. So I liked it a lot. But if you're not having a problem with it, it's not like it's bad the other way. It's still a good master. I always liked it. Down to about at least like maybe 6 or 7. It took the edge off of gigs, and I thought this tone sounds great. I'm fine with it. So I never thought about it that much. Oh yeah. Lauren's asking car questions. What mode do you keep your Tesla in normally? Like mode? Like I'm in the fast mode, or maybe it's the middle mode. Is there 3 different ones? I don't know, even, to be honest. I think it's the normal mode, like the kind of just daily driver mode, but not the eco mode. Yeah. Your comments on Rasmus S100 by Sir. Those guitars that I saw, here's the thing with the Rasmus guitar. This was like Sir guitars that they for a minute were having built overseas. It was a totally separate line. And then they were shipping them to Elsinore to be set up and all the finishing touches put on. So the guitars were, basically finished up in the US shop. Nothing left the shop that wasn't pretty much perfect. But it was so time consuming for them to go through and do that they just went, this doesn't make sense. So it was an experiment that they did for a minute. And I think if you get one of those guitars, they're fairly rare and they're well made, and they were set up really well, and nothing left the shop that wasn't less than up to snuff, So yeah, it's kind of a unique guitar in that way, but it wasn't really cost effective for them. They're trying to make a guitar that was less expensive for a certain line of guitars, that was less expensive, and they end up spending, time is money and labor and manpower and all that. It ends up taking time away from the more expensive US custom shop stuff. And it just didn't. And I think John was like, this isn't what I do. So, ended up not doing it anymore. And I applaud that. I mean, it's great to have a cheaper thing and out there. And I think PRS is the first company that really, maybe for a smaller, Fender is one thing. They, Gibson's another thing, Epiphone, all that. They're massive companies. But, relatively speaking, PRS is the first smaller manufacturer, they're pretty big manufacturer, but smaller than Fender and Gibson, that was able to make that jump to making an import guitar and not have it really affect their, the view of the customer about their company. Like, it's still viewed as a US, high-end custom guitar. And the way they did it was by making, I'm just giving them props. I mean, I feel like the SEs are the best, import version of a high-end custom guitar that was probably ever made. Like the, Charvel, the first ones in the 90s, in the 80s, when they went overseas and they started making them. Those were good guitars. I had one. They're really nice, like those Charvel Model 1, Model 2, Model 3. If you ever see them, they're really solid. But even right out of the gate, they sort of it did something to the brand. They were this high-end custom California, San Dimas, small, everybody wanted them. They were so cool. I remember when they first showed up in LA and they were like just fun, with graphics and stuff. And it was just neat, and really, really good guitars, like better than probably any other, what anybody else was making in the US, certainly Fender Gibson at the time and stuff. That was sort of dark days when we're talking about 83, 82, 83, 84. The Kramers and the Fenders and the Gibsons were really good. The Kramers and the Charvels is what I meant. Were Kramer a little bit like how many were actually made in New Jersey and how many were made by Godin or made by ESP, some of the necks and stuff. It was all a little foggy, but certainly Charvel, and then Jackson, it was like high-end stuff. The second they kind of started making them overseas, it started to do something to the brand name. They were growing and it wasn't quite as custom shop cool anymore. It was like a little more. And then they started doing the Charvette by Charvel. Remember that? The really cheap ones. It was like, they kind of lost me now, and I just lost interest in those guitars at that point. And this is around the dawn of the Fender custom shop, I guess. right? And maybe Gibson is, we're getting prehistoric kind of Gibsons now getting into the 90s and stuff. And it was like that became much more interesting to me at that point then. Yeah. Anyway, ranting. But I was just gonna say the PRS kind of were able to make that leap, and it was because they really, really did it right. I mean, the SEs are really good guitars, I think. So yeah. Lauren says, speaking of which, he just got a PRS from Sweetwater. It was set up pretty bad. Well, that's unfortunate. Yeah. I guess anything can come too in this climate. Like if it's cold and then it comes to LA and it's like, if it's cold and rainy out there, 50 degrees or something and raining, and then you ship it to LA and it's 75 degrees and dry. It's like within a day or two, it can just get weird. I don't know if that's what happened, but yeah. When you sell gear, do you use Reverb, eBay, friends? I've done a little bit of everything. I've got a little bit of a hoarder problem, so need to do more of that. But I guess lately Reverb mostly. I don't have a lot of insight into it though. What's the best way? To be honest, but I could see you being like Marty Friedman and thriving in Japan. By the way, Surfan, thanks for the super chat there. Sorry, didn't mean to say thank you. Appreciate the super chat. Reverb, I would say, is probably my favorite, not eBay. I had some bad experiences on eBay. Somebody's trying to scam me and stuff like that. It wasn't even my account. I was selling a guitar for somebody else, but they asked for, they're like, there's something wrong with this guitar. The guitar was brand new, still had the plastic on the pickups and the pick guard and stuff. This guitar I was selling for a friend, brand new, and they're like, it's damaged, and it needs, send me 10% back or I'll give you negative, eBay feedback. And I was just like, this is a scam. Like this person buys them and then just tries to, get back a couple $100 off the price that was agreed upon, because I knew the guitar was perfect. And I just wrote them back and I'm like, look, I'm not an idiot. Like I know what's going on with this. And they ended up leaving negative feedback for the person on their account that it was being sold through. And I was like, this sucks. Like this doesn't make me feel good. So after that experience with eBay, that may be the last thing I ever did on eBay. And it's been Reverb since then, or maybe, just, the thing is, like, if I want to sell things, I'll probably do like Dave did on this show or something, do like maybe, do a show where I have 5 things to sell or something. I show you guys and I make an email, and then the first email that comes in, you can just PayPal me or whatever, and I'll send it to you, because it says I've got enough, if I've got 450 people online here, I could do a show like that and probably sell a few things, and it seems to be better. Dave had great success with that, with his sales, on the shows. So I would also like to do at some point an LA hang that's kind of like what Joe Bonamassa does, or maybe even ask Joe if I can get in on whatever he does these hangs sometimes, where he'll rent out a rehearsal facility and you can go down there and buy things that he's selling. And he seems to have a great success with that. I mean, he'll fill up the room, and then I remember one day he did a Saturday Sunday thing, 2 days. And, at the end of Saturday, he said, well, tomorrow's canceled because everything's gone. Everybody came and bought everything on Saturday. So it's just really interesting. So I might like to do something like that. Maybe pool with a couple friends that want to have a sale and get together and make a parking lot party and, have a lemonade stand or something. It'll be great. Blue Sky says, I could see you being like Marty Friedman and thriving in Japan. Man, I would love it. There's a part of me that's like, the stupid voices come in like, I'm too old to do something like that. But there's a part of me that still feels like, who cares, dude? Just figure it out. Like, it's not too. I saw a candle yesterday. I was out Christmas shopping. It's so stupid, but this one cool kind of tall candles, and they said things on the side, and they said, it's not too late to change your life. And I thought, ooh, that could be a sign. Maybe I'm supposed to move to Tokyo. Things like that. It's true. It's just limitations we put on ourselves, You never know. I'm not saying never. If I got another job over there where I was there for an extended period of time, I would maybe try and figure that out. Like if it's, I know that there's problems with, it's a tough place immigration wise to get a permanent residence sort of situation going. It's not the easiest thing in the world. And then for things like real estate, you kind of have to, like, if you wanted to not rent, but you wanted to buy something, you kind of got to buy out of pocket. They're not going to give you a loan over there. So there's all those concerns, but. And even just talking about this, I sound crazy to myself, to think. But then I see guys like Marty, and I'm envious of that life. It's just when a place makes you feel so good, maybe you shouldn't question it. If it's like, if you really enjoy it, what the hell is life for? You only live once, you know? So anyways, I kind of did that with LA. I mean, I made it here, you know, that's where I'm going, and I did it. So I know I can do it. Uh, Figured it out even at a much younger age with less resources. So Patrick says, how are you today? I'm pretty good. I'm a little, my head's a little foggy because I was saying last night I was at a friend's Christmas thing, and he had us on a bourbon tasting adventure, and even trying to limit my bourbon intake, my head hurts today. But I'm doing all right. I'm making sense, aren't I? Somewhat, I hope. Yeah. Speaking of which, my knees hurt. Says, I used to live next to a tiny church, and they had a full-size rock band that played dive bar loud every Sunday morning. Did not help my hangovers at all. Pretty wild. Yeah. Okay, moving down through the chat. There's a super chat. Great show. Hey, thanks so much, Steph. Learning so much and appreciate your effort. Thank you. You should think about touring BC. I'll come see you. I'd love to go play up in BC. That's another favorite place of mine. You know, I don't know if I could handle the amount of rain, but geez, it's pretty there, and I love it. It's got a great feel to it. I love the feeling in British Columbia. I do. Did you get a response on what pots are in your axes? You know, I can't remember the name of it. The reality is, I think I'm allowed to say this, is that they will be actually available pretty soon in an online store. I don't know if I'm allowed to actually go much further than say that, but I'll let you know as soon as, and then you can actually get them, and they are terrific, and you do want them. If you've got the same problems I had with CTS and issues in guitars, it doesn't matter the brand of guitar, scratchy pots, this one is the one to get. I haven't had any issues in my guitars since switching to these. So hopefully soon I can give you a shop where you can go buy them. Do you think a speaker has more influence on EQ or the amp? The amp, well, it's kind of 50-50. I would actually, it's amazing the amount that the speaker has an influence on the sound. You know, it's huge. Just listen to speaker demos, you know, go and listen to like the speaker versus that speaker versus, you know, Greenback versus a V30. I mean, it can sound like a different amp, same distortion amount and all that, generally speaking, but the overall color, you're putting this massive filter on it. So, you know, it's amazing. I always say, if you play, say, a Fender Bassman or something like that through 212 with blues, it kind of starts to sound a little AC30-ish. It's kind of amazing, like what we equate with, you know, like which has more effect, the amp or the speakers. I'm going to go with 50-50. You know, they're both a massive influence on the tone. So, and more, I would say, than the guitar, you know, the amp and the, you know, if we got to divide it into thirds, I would actually say maybe the guitar is, well, okay, let's give the guitar 25%. And then what's the rest of the math? I can't do that math. But if we got to divide it into thirds, I would say that the speaker cabinet and the amp are a really big factor. And then the guitar is also a big factor, but not even quite as big. You know, so like on the overall tone, debatable. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Some of you guys are talking about Rockman stuff in the chat here because I'm that far back. Last Boston tours, they used exclusively Rockman, but they had cabs on stage. I remember they had those big heads with the Rockman stuff in them. You know, still use speakers. Maybe they were running the speaker sim to the PA. That'd be interesting. I wonder if Tom Schultz ran like the Rockman speaker sim to the PA, but used the cabs on stage. Ooh, I don't know. I have to find an article on that and see. That's interesting. I saw one of those tours. The what was that album? I don't remember the name of it, but the Boston album that came out around 87. It had Cool the Engines on it. Kind of a cool record. It's a weird memory. It's a weird time in my life. Like I remember I was like, had my first girlfriend then, and I was on vacation with my parents. I was listening to that Boston album a lot, along with a Cinderella album, I think, that I had on cassette. Cinderella and Boston were the ones I was wearing out in my Walkman. And I just remember being kind of like, it wasn't working out with this girl. I remember being kind of heartbroken, but being on vacation in Palm Springs, sitting by the pool with my parents around Christmas time, which was nice for a Canadian at Christmas time to be out by a pool. And I was kind of depressed listening to Boston. That's my memory of that album. That's a lot of years ago, man. Oh, brother. I was all mixed up back then. I still am. Let's see. Is it the Lion pedal you demoed? Why buy a Marshall amp? Could I get great Van Halen sounds with the pedal and amp? Well, somebody asked me to do that, actually, to take it and run it into a power amp. So I haven't done that yet, but I should give it a try. Might be fun to like actually run this into the power station and listen to it through my cab, and then run the SL68 into the power station and listen to it. See how different they are. Be a good video. I haven't tried it yet. So yeah, I don't have an answer for you, but I should do that when I get a second out of all the 4 million things I got to do. Is the new DSP plugin the Archetype Lukather? I was mentioning that I'm doing a video for a plugin this week, but I couldn't say what it is because there's an embargo, and I can say confidently that no, it's not that, but it's cool. Okay. Let's see. Silver Beetle said it's a Monday morning down here in Australia. You're in the future. A great chill way to start the work week. Awesome. Glad to have you here. It's 1:48. I'm just going to go another, I don't care. I'm going to go another 12 minutes. We're going to go 2 hours and 10 minutes on this stream because there's lots of people online, 435, something like that. Hang another 10 minutes and then I'll split and get some work done. Yeah. I remember seeing John Sear's first guitar shop on 10th Avenue in Midtown. He was at Rudy's years ago. I don't know. I mean, I don't know about that. Where do you mean? Because he was always at Rudy's, and then he went to Custom Audio, so he didn't have a guitar shop. Do you mean like a repair facility or something? Maybe he had another shop for a minute, but I don't remember him telling me that. I know he was fixing guitars in New Jersey, and the guy that owned the music store that he was fixing guitars for in New Jersey was unhappy with him because he would be so meticulous and take a long time on fret dresses, so he wasn't turning them around fast enough. The guy's like, "You got to go faster." He's like, I don't know how to do that. Like, I only know how to do it right. So the guy fired him. So then he got a job at a he just, oh, wait. Was that right? He'd moved somewhere. And now he's got issues because he'd lost the job at the store in Jersey. So now he's got problems. So then he got a job then at a kind of as a short order cook, I think, in a restaurant. And then one of the other guys that worked in the restaurant ended up getting fired from the restaurant, getting a job at Rudy's. And Rudy then found out through that guy about Sir. Rudy's like, I need a repair guy. And the guy was like, hire my friend John. He's working as a short order cook. That's how he got the job at Rudy's, was through that other guy. So, sorry, that's a long story. But that's what I know. And I don't know about him working at a guitar shop on 10th in Midtown, but there might be something that I'm missing. Super chat there from Sessions with Jeff. Thanks for another fantastic year of videos and live streams. Appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, this might be it. If I'm not around on the 30th, I'm not sure if I'm going to do a 31st show yet. Next week is off because it's Christmas Eve. So, but might do one on the 31st if I can fit one in. Just not 100% sure yet. So I'll let you know. This could be the end for 2023. Then I'll be around the following week. 100% for sure. So if not in 1 week, in 2 weeks, or sorry, if not in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, that's what I meant. We show 300 best amp sim solution, trying to decide between, there is no best. You gotta, some of these things do different things, you know? So you need to, ascertain what it is you're looking for. And then if you were like, I want a great Fender and a great Vox, and I don't want to spend a lot of money, I'd be like, get the Strymon Iridium because they're in there. I don't like the Marshall quite as much as in there, although it's okay. But great Fender, great Vox, those are in the Strymon, really quite good. UA, if you're like, I just want a great AC30, I would say the UA Ruby is great. Or I want the Eddie Van Halen thing, I would say, well, no, we're talking about the Lion from UA. I want it all. I want a million sounds. I need Mesa sounds. I need Diesel sounds. Well, now we're talking about the Helix or something from line 6. So, there's no best. It just depends on your needs and what. I broke that down pretty well right now, I think. I got across my point. Okay, I'm going to move down in the chat, grab these super chats. I see a couple here that I got to get. There's YMES YDT. Thank you so much. for the super chat. Strymon Flint plus Qtron. That's a nice EQ from, isn't the EQ from Tech 21? Maybe. Plus Octavia, plus tuner, plus buffered splitter. Okay. Versus just getting a fractal FX8 for effects. If that's, I don't know, man. I mean, if you want all the time-based stuff too, you want to add things, now you're getting into a lot of pedals, so maybe the FX8 is the way to go. But if you're like, this is all I need. I want Flint, reverb, and trim, Qtron. I need an Octavia. I need a tuner. I need a splitter. If you don't need anything else, then just do that, I would say, you know. Just get the pedals you know you want. Or if you're like, yeah, I might add a chorus, I might add a delay, then I got everything I need. Just go that route. If you need a lot, though, and you need to be jack of all trades, then the FX8 is probably going to end up being the more affordable and easier to put together solution. You know, just keep in mind you'll need a power supply with all those pedals too. The Flint, Qtron, Octavia, tuner, buffered splitter, all the cables, the power supply ends up being a little bit of a, who's going to put it together? You're going to do it yourself? I guess you could, you know, but yeah. So it's a tough one, but weigh out your needs and see if you can make the obvious choice. I have one of the 80 Charvel Model 2s, gloss black, one pickup, one knob. Great guitar. I had one of those too. I ended up routing it for a second pickup in the neck, and I put a toggle switch on it. And I had what my Jackson is, 2 humbuckers, the 3-way toggle. They are really cool. You should get it working again. They're neat guitars. Yeah, take it to a tech and get it all. I love those things, to be honest. They were really cool. The first Japanese Charvels, really good. Do you have a preferred volume pot for swells? The one on my guitar is amazing, and I can't remember what they're called. But like I say, pretty soon I'm going to be able to tell you where to get them in an online store. So just give me another little bit of time on that. In the new year, they should be available. Do I have a preferred volume pot for swells? Well, that one. I don't want to change the cheap pots on my 96 Squire. Well, don't then. Just spray them out and try and keep them clean. They're probably better pots than most of what you get now from like CTS or something. So, yeah. Please let us know when you sell stuff. I will. Yep. I learned this week that I prefer my 2204 Soldano without the Soldano hot mod. Just pedals is all one needs. That's cool. Yeah, like an SD1 or a OD1 or whatever into the front of a 2204 can be a great sound. That's all you know. If that's what you want, then it's a great way to tighten it up and you know, get the drive going. Congrats on your working relationship with F-U-Tone. Adam's a great guy. Yeah, everybody says great things about Adam. Everybody's like, I love that guy, you know. So that's great to hear, and he's very nice to me. He got me this bridge in short order, and it's really nice. For those that didn't see, I was showing earlier my guitar in the thumbnail. It's the custom version of a PT Sig. You can see all the spockety spackle. It's got a little bling on it, with the F-U-Tone bridge. Sorry, bumped the mic. With the titanium screws and inserts and all that good stuff. I love this guitar. It's kind of stealthy, but still got some bling. So I've been having a great time. You can see I've got 2 PT100s stacked back here. That's how I'm doing my sounds for tour and stuff. I have a couple 112s in the 2 heads, and then I just run the masters down really low and make all my sounds and stuff back here in the back of the room through 2 cabs, and got my pedal board at my feet and got that guitar and getting ready for the road. Sorry, the mic was kind of turned there. Hopefully you can still hear me. Super chats. Thank you, guys. I'll grab those. Where are those? Here's one. Interview with Kim was just killer. Thank you. Quite apart from being a phenomenal musician, you are a great interviewer. Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate that. I try and shut up a lot, you know. I try and ask a question and then let the person wind it out and not interrupt. You know, another thing I think with interviews that's important is for if any of you ever do this stuff, I find that the best thing to do is keep the questions as short as possible. I find with a lot of interviewers, they'll start asking a question. And I'm like, oh, that's a good question. And then they'll branch off and say something else. And then they'll almost provide the answer that they think the person is going to give. So, what were you thinking when you used this guitar sound on this album? Was it a combination of this pedal and that pedal and that pedal? Because I always liked that guitar sound. I always thought it was the better sound than da 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 da. But you know what I mean? It's like they ask a simple question, and that was enough. Like, and then just let them run with it. I tried to be, even when I was telling stories that Chris had related to me, like the one about, Tower Records and all that, with Kim, I definitely feel like I tried to give him the option. Would you like to tell the story? Because I bet you could tell it better than I could. You're there. I'm getting it. One person removed at least. So, the way I'm telling it. So, but he was like, no, you tell it. No, okay. Hopefully I'm right. But anyways, that's the thing that I just, I wish in interviews that, people were given a little bit more of the floor. Short question, lots of time to answer. Let them get it all out, So that's what I try and do. Peter here, thank you, my friend, for the super chat. Thanks, T-Top, for that super chat as well. Appreciate you guys very much for the Christmas fun. Hey, thanks, man. I actually did a lot of Christmas shopping yesterday and spent a fair amount of money, and also on camera gear this week. So you guys, thank you for the super chats. It'll help my coffee fund as well as my Amex bill next month. And I really appreciate you. Thank you. I wish all of you guys, whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever you celebrate, have a great holiday season. I'm enjoying it, getting in the Christmas spirit a little bit. A little shopping yesterday, like I say, and it was really nice. It was a beautiful day in Pasadena to do a little Christmas shopping. Simon, hey, dude, what's up? Thank you, my friend, as well. Wishing you, Britt, and Toby, Merry Christmas. See you in the new year. Thanks, man. Yeah, we'll see you please let me know what shows you're coming to, or what show you would like to come to. Please let me know that. And I can see you. Appreciate you guys very much. Thank you. Everybody, I wanted to say that I think most of the dates are up now for the Classic Rock Show US. So let me just get a link here. For there we go, USA Tour 2024. There's a whole bunch of shows up there now. So who wants to come see Classic Rock Show? Please come on out. It's going to be a fun night of music and amplifiers. There we go. So classicrockshow.com, theclassicrockshow.com, excuse me, USA Tour 2024. You can just go to theclassicrockshow.com and you can find all the dates for both the UK and EU, as well as all the USA dates. So where are we playing? Let's see. Because there's a couple in Florida, Hampton, New Hampshire at the Casino Ballroom, Hershey, Pennsylvania at the Hershey Theater, Morristown, New Jersey. What else we got here? Atlanta, South Bend, Indiana, Waukegan, Illinois. It's going to be fun, man. Fort Myers. Yeah, Fort Myers, Clearwater, Jacksonville. I don't even know if these are all the dates. I think there might be some more that are filling in. Because this is only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There might be more shows announced. Not 100% about that, but there's 10 U.S. shows there. If y'all are interested, come out and see it. I'm sitting in your program and getting all my parts learned. We're tackling some fun tunes this year, and some really cool guitar heavy stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. Are you coming to Fort Worth, Dallas? Is Braxel? I don't think so right now, but you never know, man. I mean, there might be more that are announced. Nothing in California. Yeah, it's all kind of, at least for this first, this is the kind of, they did one run in the U.S., but it was 10 years ago or something. We could consider this the first one, I think. And so it's all kind of east and central, little, Illinois and, Atlanta, like I say, Florida, Pennsylvania, Jersey, so yeah, similar to the tour I just did, to be honest, with Nick Carter. Very, very, very similar. But, got to start somewhere. And I love that we're doing it. Are you coming to Glasgow again? I believe there's a Glasgow date. Yeah, actually. So let me look right now, real quick here on the site for the UK EU. We're playing Edinburgh on the 16th of January. It's one of the first shows, actually, but that's not Glasgow. So let me find I think the Glasgow date is later in February. Eastbourne, there's one in Helsinki. And we're coming to the Netherlands, which, you know, we've been waiting to do for a long time. So there's a few European dates. So they're up there on the website, but Eindhoven, Arnhem, is that right? Netherlands? And Helsinki, Finland, which I'm really excited about. So Glasgow, that's February 8th at the Royal Concert Hall. So please come on out. Lots of dates up there. I'm excited about this year's run. It's going to be fun. Really fun shows and songs are to be had. Let's see here. Naive Steve says he's coming to Salford. That's awesome. Yeah. It's going to be a fun one. E-Barge, Pennsylvania is close. Yeah, we got a Jersey show in Pennsylvania. It's going to be good. I wish I'd seen Bon Scott era AC/DC. Me too. Would have been enough energy out of that show to last me a lifetime. I first saw AC/DC. I'm pretty sure the first time I saw him was the night that I got to go on stage with them, which was insane. But for those that don't know that story, I won a contest and I got to go on stage and play air guitar with AC/DC. It was a life changer. I always say, I joke around, it's all been downhill since then. But it was super fun. And then I saw them a couple of years after that on another tour, 88 or so, I think. And I think that was one that actually Malcolm didn't do, that Stevie Young actually filled in for Malcolm. He looked exactly like him too. He had the hair and everything. You didn't even know it wasn't Malcolm. I don't think they publicized it. But Malcolm was like getting cleaned up. I think he was like getting sober and stuff like that then. So Stevie did a run. And that would be the first time he'd actually played with the band, was in the 80s. So it's kind of interesting. Must have been really young. Oh, sorry. I was highlighting another chat there. Yes, sir, says, I hope everyone's safe and healthy over the holidays. Absolutely. Everybody, I hope you all have a great holiday. I suppose I should go. It's 2:05 and I've gone 2 hours, 15 minutes. And I've still got 400 people online though. Love all you guys. Thanks for being here and hanging. Please hit the thumbs up if you haven't, and the like and all that stuff. And once again, Simon there, thank you, man, for the super chat there. And Peter, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. You're always here. Thank you. T-Top, all you guys. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Oh yeah, Patrick says that Boston album from the 80s was called Third Stage. Yeah, with Cooley engines and stuff. It was a cool record. It was a great album. It was kind of maybe sort of I don't know what they did after that. I don't really remember. I don't think maybe they put out another one after that. I don't remember though. I felt that, I kind of fell off my radar after that. But this is true. John Sir can make you a monster guitar and a monster omelet, and he's great at making pizza. He's got his crazy pizza oven. So, did you put up a tree up in your house for your cat to destroy? You know what? I haven't done a tree yet, which is, what am I, some sort of Scrooge or something? But you know what? I'm going to go, I think, today and get a little Charlie Brown tree at Whole Foods and not be such a Scrooge. Because now I've done a little Christmas shop and I can do a little wrapping and at least for a few days have some things under my goofy little tree. I have a tiny place, really. It's not like a big place that I live in. So it's like I go get a small tree every year and do it up. And I've neglected to do that. It's just Christmas is coming. Anybody else feel that? Like it's just on top of us all of a sudden. It's like come up so fast. So I better get on it. Probably not a great selection of trees. No Honolulu. No. Not this time around, I don't think. Isn't that unfortunate? I want to go to Honolulu. Jeez. Why not? Walk On was the album after Third Stage. Yeah, I don't think I'm aware of that one. Was that 90s? I wasn't really into it. But anyways, E-Barge says, I can't wait till it's over. I know that feeling. Yeah. Christmas it's a hard one for me, to be honest, but it's I still try and get in the spirit and have fun, It's a funny one, and I always end up having a good time. So it's just for various reasons. I'm sure there's probably a lot of people out there that can relate to that. The holidays being a little tough every now and then. So I'm one of those guys. But anyway, everybody have an awesome holiday, and no matter what you celebrate, how you celebrate it. If you don't celebrate at all, just chill out then and have a great time. I'm going to get to work here on some videos. Video this week coming pretty soon for Captor X here, as well as a plugin that's really cool. I'll put that out. I think it's the 20th. I'm going to put that one out. So it's coming up quick. There's a Bad Cat amp, high gainer, that I got to do a video for. I've got these crazy Klon pedals here. I've got a pedal from Strymon. I've got a pedal from Donner Prince. I've got a pedal from Eventide. How am I going to do all this by January 5th? I don't know, but I'm going to do absolutely as much as I possibly can and probably end up pissing off a few people. So, but I do my best because there's only one of me in this crazy overcrowded room. All right, everybody. I'll see you in a couple weeks. Won't be next week. Taking Christmas Eve off. The 31st is still open. Not sure if I am going to do one. I'll put up a watch page for it so everybody knows. If I'm not going to do it, then it'll be the week after that. So could be 1 week off, could be 2 weeks. Not sure. Love you all. Have a great. Oh yeah, and one more thing. Sorry, I'm so long-winded. See you on Tone Talk, says Trolls. I will be on Tone Talk 22nd, I think, is the day. So I do have kind of one more of these things that I'm doing. And that'll be a fun Christmas holiday rant with Dave Friedman and Mark. Can be a good time. So catch me on Tone Talk, and we will talk more about the importance of speakers on stage and how cool tubes are. Love you all. Be safe, everybody. Take care.